Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. How we doing? I'm your host, Agent Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa
I was
Pacelli.
gonna say I didn't know if I should say anything. You haven't introduced me
Don't know.
yet.
I don't know. I'm feeling we have these have been light weeks because what are we talking about tonight? Last week was Wonder Woman 3, and nobody cared, and then this week is Wonder Woman 3 not really happening. Does anybody care? So,
Right, right.
um, Continuum Chronicles standing by. Continuum Chronicles standing by. Welcome. Have a great stream tonight, you geezers. What is that? Is that a confection?
No, 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 no. It's actually I'm just opening up some wipes to clean my glasses.
Oh, well, that's important.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to read the notes in order to, copy and paste. So I got to see what the heck I'm doing.
I should eat something nice after the stream. We'll see.
You
Anyway.
should.
Hello, love of my life. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's for Troy. Okay, I got a high
Love
speed.
you too, Nutter.
Let's see here. We have Lester San Jose. Quake 2, oh, memories. Love Rocket Arena 3 and its soundtrack. Oh, let me dig that up.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Quake in a little bit. I'm I made a point to Troy. The circle is now complete. This is not me saying that it's over for boomer shooters. I have OID. There's never enough, and that all the big boomer shooters have been released, classic or otherwise. But this is the last, in my opinion, of the classic id shooters. Is that what they call themselves? Id, and
I suppose.
which I
But I
consider.
mean, so do you feel that modern first-person shooters are not the logical outgrowth of that? I mean, it's still kind of like
Okay, here's what's going on. I think consoles have caught up. For a while, people got angry because the first person shooters was usually the domain of the PC gamer, right? Not the
right.
console gamer. Then you had GoldenEye come out for the Nintendo 64, but even on the Nintendo 64, you were getting ports. I mean, you got a port of Quake and Quake 2 on the Nintendo 64, which actually was an original game, not a port. And then you had, how can I put this? There was a complaint when that game Halo came out on consoles. Halo was the big first-person shooter on Xbox, very popular game series. Some PC guys complained they felt the first-person shooter got dumbed down for consoles. They became a lot slower. If you play like like the old Quake games, they're very fast paced. You can zip around, shoot everything. Whereas I think on console they slowed it all down because consoles couldn't handle the speed. Like I said, I'm not an expert. This is what I've heard.
Sure.
Things have changed now, of course, because now consoles can fight with. I mean, there's always going to be the rivalry between console gamers and PC gamers. The joke PC master race, because you can always upgrade your PC, whereas consoles they can get some upgrades. Like halfway through the cycle, you might get a beefier PlayStation or Xbox, but for the
But
most
by
part,
and large,
stuck with
they're
what you have.
disposable computers, is what they are.
Well, by and large, at least in the old days, what they are, I can still play my Super Nintendo games, smart guy. Okay, I
Well,
mean,
I could still play all of my old PCs too,
you
but
gotta. I guess you gotta run DOS. You gotta get a DOS type.
yeah, there's plenty of emulators you can
Okay,
still
well
get
there
for
you
that
go.
kind of stuff.
People
But the
find a
problem
way.
is, I just don't tend to go back to those because I'm on to playing newer games. The point is though that I guess I could, and by the example, there's Steam, right, for so many of the games, as you
Steam is
well
pretty
know.
cool. Yeah,
You know.
Steam is pretty cool. They have good sales there too. Yeah. So, like I said,
And I did my homework for today, so we can talk about Quake and
we'll get
whatnot.
there. But let's say hi to the rest of the chat.
Yeah. We were on Lester San Jose. Thank you.
Keep
Uh,
hail to the Geeky Geezers. Oh,
deleted scenes. Don't miss deleted
where is
scenes.
he? Oh, hail chat. Welcome to the
Yeah.
Joshua V. Welcome.
And
Uh,
David Pensek, I got your email. I did respond, and I will check out that video you sent me. Well, after later on tonight, maybe.
Zootopia, welcome. Still, hopefully, we'll get to do that Casino Royale thing, streams one of these days. Let me see. Have you guys heard of a few young actors are involved with the strikes in California? I don't know anything about that, but I can look into it for next week.
Yeah. Um,
I've been reading a lot about the the Snow White actress.
Yeah, this is where between her and other people commenting on various topics on social media and whatnot, I am doing my best to separate the substance of what people are saying from the pyorrhea coming out of their mouths. She is incredibly abrasive, but when you listen to some of the things she's saying, she's not wrong.
Yeah, but she's like I saw her making some comment about her co-star. Oh yeah, he's a great guy. Of course, they may cut all the scenes out. This is Hollywood. And it's like maybe she's trying to make a joke, but it comes off. This is your co-star.
I don't know. I mean,
charming.
She has the youth to be able to give her the benefit of the doubt that she's just not that wise. But unfortunately, I see too many even older people in the entertainment industry making stupid comments like that too, without self-awareness.
It's just stop running your mouth. And it's
look at Bob Iger. He's on the other side of this, and he's making stupid comments. Like I said on Friday, things that are absolutely appropriate to say at the negotiation table, but not in public, And any lawyer will tell you there are things that are appropriate to say, at the negotiation table, in a deposition, in court, and then there's things that are appropriate to say at a press conference or in private or in an interview, and these are not the same things, and wisdom tells you when to say what, and a lot of these people clearly don't have that level of wisdom.
But there are plenty of young actresses that have more. Anya Taylor-Joy, she has a very good demeanor about her. All right, when she speaks, very genteel, I would say, and I just stop knocking. Don't knock your co-star for whatever reason. No one is selling me on the Snow White movie.
No, that's for darn sure. Everything I see about it makes it more and more certain that this is going to be, unless it gets the Barbie treatment and the fourth wave feminists just go out in gobs.
Yeah, well, all I'll say is, like, even the actress that was in the new Little Mermaid movie, the controversy on the casting and everything, she did not act abrasive in any interviews that I could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I just don't understand. Some agents need to talk to the people.
I will say this, though, about the whole Snow White thing. Someone shared something about, Off-White saying something stupid again, and I said, and it was specifically about something about the prince, not being necessaries, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I would love to see that version of Snow White with no prince. She eats the apple. She dies. The dwarf non-dwarves go to the prince and say, please, you can wake her up with true love's kiss. And he goes, oh, F no. I don't have consent to kiss her. She's dead. End of the movie. Done. I'm all for that. I want to see that movie.
There should be like and I think maybe like Ryan Reynolds could get involved with this. Someone should do like it should be a movie about someone trying to do a fairy tale, and like you see it done the classic way, and then people keep chiming in, and then the fairy tale keeps changing in the movie, until it's unrecognizable from its original form. It's just... And
actually, because Snow White is not, the Disney version of Snow White is owned by Disney, but Snow White herself, the fairy tale, is public domain. Anybody could do that story. I would love to see like DreamWorks used to rip on Disney back in the day. Yeah. I'd like to see somebody do that now.
Let me tell you something. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, even though it's a comedy, I felt gets the whole fairy tale thing a lot better than Disney does right now.
That's for darn sure.
I just found Return to Castle Wolfenstein weeks ago. If a tactical shooter fan, PC is still the way to go. I was disappointed with Halo's PC version. Yeah, Halo did start out as a PC game originally, but it got postponed because they were converting it to a console game. Welcome, Matt and Nui. Anyway, though.
Okay, yeah, no, we are caught up. Good.
So I guess we're going to talk about the good old days. Let's just
And what are we talking about for the good old days today?
the
Uncle
Exorcist.
Aged Boomer?
Uncle what?
Uncle Aged Boomer?
Uncle Aged Boomer. I feel like I should have a corncob pipe in my mouth.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, we're going to talk about The Exorcist.
Yeah, it seems like a weird one to talk about for the good old days, but boy, if you're a horror fan, you know, that's a classic. 1973, based on the 1971 novel, based on a theoretically, real case from 1949.
Right. Which, who knows how many liberties were taken from what happened in the case.
Oh, I can tell you there were a lot of liberties taken just from what we know of it. Very fictionalized because it was like
I was 37 in the
there's that, and it's like, oh, I heard this story and didn't look into it enough to be as close as possible, but still enough for I'll tell you what, growing up in a Catholic family, there was enough Catholic catechism lore in this movie to make it seem pretty darn realistic and just freak you the heck out.
I did not really grow up with The Exorcist. I knew of it through, because it's a very famous movie. So obviously it's homaged and mentioned in other movies. It's like Star Wars in that respect. You cannot watch Star Wars but still know of it because it's in such a big thing in popular culture. And there are two different cuts of this movie too, which we'll get into. There
are, and so it did consist of a trilogy of films. There was Exorcist, Exorcist II, The Heretic in '77, and then The Exorcist 3 in 1990. And then in 2004 and 2005, we got two prequels, two mutually exclusive prequels. The Beginning in 2004 and Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist in 2005.
I heard those are two completely different cuts, but do they use some of the same footage? Or are they just two completely different movies?
I have to admit, I have both on DVD and have watched neither of them.
I heard there was a big controversy over that. Like, they had to remake this prequel Exorcist thing. They did just two different movies.
Yeah.
Which is odd. Yeah. There's a big history around this.
And I do need to do a deeper dive on that. And you said we were going to get into this. Yeah. The two different cuts of the original Exorcist. The problem is I have the second version, the I don't know if you call it director's cut or whatever. Exactly. I don't have the original theatrical release, and I've been looking for it, and I've just been having problems. I'm probably going to have to ask Netter to do her Google foo for me on that one.
It's probably available on Blu-ray, at least, if you don't want to get it on DVD. I remember there was a DVD release, a theatrical version, early on in DVD. So let's get to my own history with this. I did not see this movie till I was at least well past 18. So I didn't grow up with this as a teenager.
Yeah, I saw it in grade school. Like I said, and I went to a Catholic grade school. Were you
traumatized? I mean, what did you think of it? I'm curious.
I saw this on VHS. We rented this from the video store and watched it over at a friend's house, another Italian Catholic family, right?
Yes.
And both her parents were kind of concerned, but my mom came over with me when we watched it. Wow. And she's like, you should probably watch this movie. This is, kind of going with the, as a Catholic, this is the kind of thing that you should really be aware of and,
right.
Kind of thing. And my mom, she was a much more worldly kind of person. So and she was also kind of a liberated kind of woman. So she was very open with me about explaining things. Whereas my friend's mom, kind of wasn't. She was very repressed and didn't know a lot of things about, I'm trying to be very PG here. didn't know a lot of things about a lot of things. So there's a couple scenes in The Exorcist that my mom literally had to explain to her. And she'd be like, "Oh my gosh!" She's like, "Don't worry. If the kids don't get it, they don't get it." And interestingly, I got it, and my friend didn't, and I didn't say anything because even as a kid, I knew enough not to, talk about certain things in polite company.
So we have starring Ellen Burstyn, Max von Sydow. Who's the kid? Linda Blair. There we
Linda
go.
Blair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Names, they always get to me. That's why you bring up Wikipedia when you're talking about something. Let's see here, though. So, I remember Dr. Evil making the joke, I need a young priest and an old priest or something. Like, it was...
Right,
exactly. Max von Sydow playing the elder priest.
So here's the thing about the Catholic lore on exorcism, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is that this is a very specialized discipline within Catholicism. Not every priest would know how to do an exorcism. No. In fact, not just anyone would be authorized. They would have to do an investigation, refer it to their bishop, who would refer it to the Vatican, who would, decide whether or not, the special forces should be sent in, so to speak.
Right, because they also want to rule out it being a psychological thing, right?
Right, and that is, one of the things that I think religion takes a lot of flack for, that at least the Catholic Church can say, well, look, we're not completely, Byzantine here. We do kind of, understand that there's things like schizophrenia and there's, other mental illnesses. We want to rule those out before we start, kind of apply Occam's razor here.
Yeah.
And oftentimes a lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of your exorcists, your true Catholic exorcists, probably do have degrees in psychology.
Interesting.
So so they could they may not be practicing, so they might say, my personal opinion really looks like paranoid schizophrenia. I would seek out psychiatric evaluation before we go any further, that kind of a thing. But you're also talking about a very small minority within the Catholic Church that would have this kind of specialized training. So yes, kind of to use the Star Wars, Sith kind of idea, you're going to have the older, master and the younger apprentice, and you don't get a lot of opportunity to do ride-alongs because there's so few of these that happen. So you get the young guy involved so that he can assist.
Well, Father Damien is the younger priest in this, and he's an interesting character because when they first bring up the idea of demonic possession, he's like, we're not in the Middle Ages anymore. This is, we're not. He's doubting the whole idea of demonic possession, right? When first broached with him. So I thought that was very interesting. And he's having trouble too. He's got a lot of personal things going on in his life, like his mother is sick, and I think his older brother's like, "Oh, you're so smart, you could be making a lot of money as like a psychologist or something." Or something. Instead, you're not taking care of your mom, and I guess he's got guilt about that. And there's a scene where he runs into a homeless guy in the street who says, "Got any money for an old altar boy, Father?" And like he looks at him in horror or something. I think I learned later on that could have been a manifestation of the devil, that homeless guy. I think.
It was meant to be,
it was meant to disgust him, I think. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Which I thought was interesting.
I mean, it's based on the whole premise that God doesn't tempt you, only the devil tempts you. So obviously, if there's some sort of struggle that the priest is seeing in his life, it's got to be coming from the devil, right? And but my mother made a great point about this. She said this movie did a great job of communicating. Look, a priest is just a man, right? Yeah. He's taken vows. He's studied. He's following a calling, but he is a man, and. The Catholic Church does tend to almost deify the clergy as though they are the intercessor to to God, which I suppose is how they're portrayed in the Catechism. But in reality, you know, Jesus is really the only stand-in, you know, and way to God, right? And the priest is just meant to represent more like the apostles,
Right.
repeating the teachings of
Right.
Jesus and
Right.
being doing the best they can without actually being Jesus himself, right? Who also was tempted in every way that man was. That's another important parallel to keep in mind. So yeah, that definitely plays into this story.
Well, I'm kind of curious, if you don't mind my asking. Does exorcism exist in I guess Protestant religions? Because I would imagine, because Jesus himself was an exorcist in the Bible, so I would imagine it shows up in other religions. I think rabbis do it. I think I've heard of that, like in Judaism. But
Yeah,
uh,
especially, and I know a lot less about that, but I'm
yeah,
sure that in Kabbalah and so forth, there's definitely a focus on that kind of too. I mean, there's Muslim religions that deal with their concepts of the devil and evil spirits are slightly different. They refer to the jinn and so forth, but you know that exists there too.
yeah,
I can't speak to all Protestant denominations, even the mainline Lutherans. I don't know, but definitely evangelicals definitely believe in exorcism.
right.
Much less rigorous and organized than the Catholics. So
Right.
you
So
know,
yeah, he continuing Chronicle says he's a Protestant and they do their exorcisms take place at his church. Yeah, because that was brought up in the movie The Last Exorcism, how you have a I don't know what he is, what if he was like a Pentecostal preacher, but he did exorcisms. So
yeah.
and but he said, of course, the Catholic Church goes to the attention because of the movie, and of course, what movie is he talking about? The Exorcist.
Right. Exactly
Yeah,
right. That's exactly right. It
and
was a cultural touchstone. It was, I mean, this was one of those movies that in 74, I mean, they played up the marketing about, you know, people, you know, having heart attacks in the theaters and being, you know, don't go see this if you know, have a weak heart or, you know, if you're sensitive or whatever. And you know, that kind of stuff draws more people in than it scares them away, you know?
Marin and Damien are both flawed. I
Oh,
guess he's
yeah.
referring to the two priests. Yeah,
That
well, I
is
think
absolute. And that is, again, as we often talk about in our storytelling, your flawed heroes are the ones you relate to most. And of course, you're rooting for them, but you're also going, you imagine they might fail, right? You know, if you have an omnipotent Superman type hero with no flaws, you know, that is not going to be distracted by anything, there's no doubt they're going to succeed and there's no excitement in the story. But when you have, you know, he's just a man and his faith is weak, and you really want to see him succeed, but you're not sure if he's going to, you're sitting on pins and needles through that whole movie.
here's something I didn't understand as to why Reagan gets possessed, the little girl. And I'm assuming this is really more about testing the priest, but I always
Yeah.
had the idea that you had to be, I'll put it to genteelly, you had to be like a flawed person yourself, like maybe a sinner to get possessed. And, you know, Reagan is a little girl. Of course, then it dawned on me, maybe she, I guess, was never baptized, so she would still have original sin, which I guess exists in Christianity.
Okay,
I
yeah, and
don't know. I don't know.
From a Catholic standpoint, if you are going strictly by a Catholic perspective, that it could very well be exactly what they're implying in this story. She is vulnerable because she wasn't
Well, they
baptized.
never even say that's what it is. I was just theorizing why, because I mean, she's a little girl. She's not done anything wrong. I mean,
Well,
you know,
and now see, here's where we start getting into, you know, you've got two prequels out there, like I said, mutually exclusive ones,
right?
and you've also got a TV series. Did you know that? There was a
I
TV
There was a TV
series.
series, and from what I heard, it was actually good,
It
but I didn't
was
get around to watching it. Yeah,
incredibly good.
yeah.
2016, it lasted for one season, and it acknowledges everything that happened in the first one. And Gina Davis plays a lead role in this film. And I'm sorry, I'm going to give a spoiler for this almost going on a decade old series. She, despite her name in the show, you find out towards the end of the show that this is actually Reagan grown up
as an adult,
and she's an adult. She's changed her name, and she gives a little bit of backstory about herself before she became possessed, and that TV show gives an explanation for why she was possessed. Oh. So you first have to. Okay, so you've brought up the Catholic point.
Puppies or something as a kid. I'm kidding. I don't know.
That's funny, but I have to tread very carefully here. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
So there is, of course, the Catholic aspect about baptism. That is one possible thing. But if you put that aside and look at it from the more Protestant, evangelical perspective, most believe that, and even sometimes Baptist, depending on what form of Baptist you believe in, baptism is not something that is meant to be done to children at baby.
Interesting. Okay.
That is a Catholic belief. And I could get into the whole history. I don't want to get into a huge tangent, but the catechism in Catholicism comes from, and some people say during the Middle Ages, so many children were dying, the plague and so forth. Right. What happens to them? Do they make it to heaven if they weren't baptized? Well, you know what? Let's start baptizing babies. Just to be safe, right? But if you really want, I could do a great, scriptural analysis and point out really, it says to repent and be baptized. Can a baby repent? Assuming that they have some original sin, are they cognizant enough to be aware of that, to repent of that original sin, and then choose to be baptized? No, that's why the Catholics created confirmation. So they're adding and adding and adding in tradition what probably was never intended by Scripture. Even the Jewish doctrine is that there is an age at which you become an adult, where you are no longer considered a child. You take on the responsibilities of adulthood by the same
mitzvah or bar mitzvah.
Exactly, right. And that's like what, 16 years old or something like that.
I thought it was younger, but
maybe 13 or something.
Maybe around that. I mean, the trouble is,
put a pin in that, because that's exactly what I'm getting to. For Catholics, the confirmation is 8th grade. I don't know how old you are going into 8th grade. That'd be like 15, 16 or so, I think, right? Right. I can't remember. It's been so long. But
I know. I think for me, it depends on it, because when I went to a Catholic middle school and they were getting confirmation 7th grade, but I had already had mine, I think 5th or 6th. So it may depend on the parish.
The younger you drive it, the less, in our society, can you really be considered. Okay, so CK is saying age 13. Right. So we're starting to see a trend here, right? But most evangelicals and most Protestants would say, look, even Christ himself said, let the little ones come to me, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. These children are pure, right? They are completely without sin. It's not until, and it may be different for everybody, when you begin to understand the difference between good and evil. Are you capable of sin? Anyway. And there's also scriptures I could point to where you can't be held accountable for the sins of your fathers, right?
Right.
So if that's true, how can you be held accountable for the sin of Adam and Eve, right? But that is another theological debate. The point being that the Exorcist 2016 TV series very clearly was going on the idea that at about the age of 13 or so, you have Reagan kind of starting to become a woman, right? And starting to become aware of her body, right? And start exploring things. And one of the things she starts exploring is spiritualism, Ouija board. She starts playing with a Ouija board.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And
yeah.
this Ouija board starts telling her that she should do some things in private by herself, and,
I
yeah.
see. So that's explained on the series.
And so she's at that age of inclusion where she starts to know right from wrong, and she's fallen to some temptation there, some impurity, and that's how she ends up getting possessed. It's like she invites it in, right?
And keep in mind, yeah, and that we've seen this happen in the Conjuring movies too. Like when the two little girls, they made their own Ouija board and were messing around with it, and that's when all the stuff in Conjuring 2 starts going on, because they were messing around with a Ouija board, even though it was one they made themselves on the playground.
Real quick, I want to acknowledge what Auditor Dread is saying. Yeah, I got way off on a tangent there. Sorry about that, but thank you for the acknowledgement.
But keep in mind, we're all basing this on a movie. This is not
exactly. I was outlining
and to
several.
be fair, the case in real life, the person I was thinking, was the person older? Was it even a kid, a child?
Exactly, right.
This may be a moot point anyway.
And I was really just outlining several different, parallel theologies, to get at what I felt this fictional story was basically getting at. I mean, I'm very clear on what they were getting at in the TV show, so I'm just answering your question in that way. Yeah.
Basically, the long and the short of it is, check out the TV show. Should we check out the extended version? Did you go see it in the movies when it came out? The cut you've never seen. I actually went to the trouble of going to a theater.
I have it on DVD. So like I said, I have it. I've seen it, but it's been so long since I saw the theatrical release. I don't remember what the differences are. That's why I really want to get a hold of a DVD copy of the original 1973 theatrical release.
I can tell you some of the difference is the ending takes longer. I think, like, the priest gives what's her name, Reagan. I don't know. I think the cross that belonged to the priest, but then in the director's cut, she gives it back to the priest to hold on to instead. Mm-hmm. And that annoyed Roger Ebert, because he's saying, I don't know why we're having all this added stuff, and then he runs into the cop that makes the stupid jokes about seeing movies that don't exist or something, like the one police detective that was investigating the priest, saying, what's going on here with this stuff, like. And I think that they freaking put that in there in the director's cut to say, okay, the cop's not so bad. He's
and CK is saying, for what it's worth, I'm enjoying hearing about this sort of thing. Would love an occasional video about this sort of thing. Maybe we will revisit this again in, like, say, in October. We'll do another, maybe I'll do a Friday stream about The Exorcist. Maybe we'll even do a rewatch of it, and we'll talk a little bit about the theology and stuff behind it, if you'd like.
I knew an exorcist once. I'm not.
Did you really?
Yes.
Catholic or otherwise?
Yes, okay. Catholic. Yes. So his stories were interesting. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but it's
Sure. No, it's great stuff. But yeah, this was a great. This was and again, we're going back to a time when these kinds of movies were well thought out. Now, I mean, don't get too far into the weeds on the minutia of the lore. The demon that is focused on in this, some people say it's the actual devil. Others would say it's Legion, which is a reference to a group of spirits that Christ cast out in the New Testament. And there is, of course, references to Pazuzu, who is, I believe, a Mesopotamian god who, I mean, I guess there's a Catholic belief that all pagan gods, any god that isn't, from some other religion, is a demon and not,
I don't know if that's strictly a Catholic belief, or if it may be or may not be. I don't know. I know that I've heard that floated around. Maybe that was an early.
But Pazuzu, as I recall, is a pretty benign kind of character in Mesopotamian lore. So I mean, it's not one that jumps out as being, this devil stand-in kind
Yeah,
of. But
you know why they picked it? It sounded neat. That's
and
why
it was a
they
cool
picked
looking
that name.
statue, probably.
Yes. I mean, again, I don't know how accurate this movie even is to Catholic theology or biblical scripture or anything else. It's an interesting movie, though. I'll say that. It is interesting how. I did think it interesting how in the movie the devil, whatever devil's possessing, or if it is the devil possessing Reagan, is using stuff that's bothering the priest against him, like his mother.
There is a great line.
Yeah.
There's a great tagline from the movie Poltergeist, completely unrelated. But the tagline for Poltergeist was, "It knows what scares you." Right? And it is very clear that you jump back to 1973. That was the underlying concept here, was that the devil knows what scares you. It knows your insecurities. It knows your mind and uses all of that against you.
And I think that makes sense to me. Let me see. I'm trying to think here. A bit late, but the Wonder Woman topic. Oh yeah, you can look later. Horizon.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think though. If I'm getting back into this movie though, again, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong. I know that they have the spider crawl scene in the version you've never seen. That was a cut scene where she's crawling like a spider. We didn't even mention the pea soup.
Oh yeah, the whole vomiting thing, and I'll tell you something else. That again, you go back to those. Well, they're special effects really, and there's some great behind the scenes footage from this film. All practical effects, all in camera. They did a lot of like, I don't know what you'd call it, animatronic puppeteer type work. The pea soup thing. Some shots of it are an artificial head. Sometimes there's angle shots and whatnot. That crab walk down the stairs, that was real. That was really done and amazing. That required a great deal of skill. I think that Linda Blair herself did that. I don't know if it was her or a stunt person, but that was an actual physical contortion and going down the stairs that way.
It's creepy as all get out to see. I think it's good they kept.
By the way, I believe she was on wires, so it wasn't like there was a chance she was going to fall down the stairs and break her neck or something.
Maybe
like
that's why they didn't include it in the original cut, because you could see the wires. But now, because of digital imagery, you can remove that stuff.
Like all the time, though.
Yeah, I know, but if you're filming a movie, you got to be careful because that person could fall and hurt themselves.
Nah.
Mm-hmm. Right. But the TV show dealt with. Okay, so there was another very famous effect, and that was her sitting facing away from the priest and turning her head around a full 180 degrees, which is incredibly creepy. Not anatomically possible, right? So that scene was done by a mock-up and a fake head turned on a gimbal, right? Very realistic looking. And then, of course, when they, zoom in, it's her, with, just wearing her nightgown backwards or whatever. But they dealt with it in a very interesting way in the TV series. So one of the first episodes, this new young priest, completely unrelated to anything from the previous movies,
right,
is dealing with a possession of a child in some third world country. And when and it looks like he's successfully driving out the demon. He's in quotes winning, right? And the head thing starts, and he goes, no, and then all of a sudden the head snaps all the way around, and the kid dies. And so the implication is that this demon is able to kill its host by twisting its neck all the way around. So,
Well, to be fair, at the end of the original Exorcist, the demon does kill a host. I'm not going to get into details in case you haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, well, we can save that for, like I said, if we in October do like
Okay,
a
so
watch party of it or something,
yeah,
we
that
can
might be
talk about the ending because
that might be a good idea. Do a watch party of it.
that ending is open to interpretation, is how I'm going to say it.
I've interpreted it one way, or
But you can see the other way, right?
I can see that's how what I thought it was, and then I think that I don't know if that was the director's intent, from what I learned later on, and then
And who was the director on that?
William Friedkin. Oh, I just
Yeah.
want to make a point. Continuing Chronicles was making a point about what we were saying earlier about
Zeus and Apollo being fallen angels.
yeah, so that might come from one of the later parts of the Bible about that the pagan gods were, I guess, fallen angels, which I guess would be a demon. Yeah. What were you saying? That we were talking about William Friedkin, the director of The Exorcist.
Yeah.
He did this after The French Connection. He died recently. We've talked about William Friedkin this year because his movie The French Connection has been censored on streaming. And I went to see if it's still censored. It's still censored because I noticed something interesting on Amazon. I noticed that Blu-ray of the one that was out of print of The French Connection is now all of a sudden readily available again. And I am wondering if the demand for this went up and someone over at a certain House of Mouse realized it and just put the Blu-ray back into print. It still bothers me, though, because I don't necessarily want to reward someone for bad behavior, which is censorship, which is what they did the streaming version. I'm assuming the Blu-ray is not censored.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't know, though. Could they have censored the Blu-ray now, too, the one they put back out on the market? I don't know. Anyway, I saw it on Amazon.
Wait, I just real quick want to address. Yeah, David Pensack makes a great point. He addresses that very famous quote: the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist."
Yeah,
a YouTuber that I follow. That I admire a great deal has added on to that. He said the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he doesn't exist. The greatest trick that the government has ever pulled is convincing people they can't resist.
Really?
Yep. Think about it.
Interesting line.
Think about it. And you know it's true because it rhymes.
We live in creepy times right now.
We really do.
I've had a bad vibe all week. And maybe it's me and not everybody else, but this week had a bad vibe to it, and I can't shake.
Look, there was a time when if you said rock and roll and Hollywood and Dungeons and Dragons was all satanic and stuff, yes, people would just roll their eyes. I would roll my eyes and say, that's just ridiculous. Now, people are really being open about it. Like, yeah, it is, and I'm all in. And it's like, oh my God, right?
I don't know. It's a little. You wouldn't have said that back 20 years ago. No one would say. Most people wouldn't. You might have the odd punk saying that, right? But
yeah, it's no longer just the religious fanatics saying it. It's now the people embroiled in it. That are saying it and freely, openly admitting it. And it's like, what the heck kind of times are we living in now? I mean, and how much worse must it have been, in the pre-deluge time for God to say, okay, at this point, I'm going to wipe out the earth to start over again. We apparently haven't gotten that bad yet.
I've often wondered if maybe that could happen again. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not, though. William Friedkin, director of The Exorcist and The French Connection, dead at 87.
Yeah.
Horrible that his last few months was dealing with probably the knowledge that his movie is being censored on streaming. D. Pensek says, I heard the Blu-ray was censored. I want to know, because I noticed this is popping back up on Amazon, and I don't know if anybody has purchased it. I'll keep an eye on that, Pensek. If I find out the Blu-ray's been censored, we're in big trouble now, because then you'll have this thing floating out with all the others that aren't censored. And
this is why I always say, make sure you own physical media.
Yes, but the point is they're going to try to own this physical media, and Disney has censored it.
This is why you have to own it before they change it.
This is madness.
It is.
This is. Hold on. My issue with The Exorcist, all the possessed Reagan really does is spout vulgarities, maybe scary when it came out, but now it just comes off as immature. Probably because all the girls are age are spouting that stuff. I'm sorry, being bad.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's like, oh, you're a lightweight compared to the average teenager.
It look, yeah, look at Off White, promoting the Disney film, but
Believe it or not, The Exorcist, it's an important film. It's not my favorite of all the satanic scare movies back then. That's still The Omen. I think The Omen holds up the best out of
yeah, it
all of
does.
those. But
Yeah, before you
Rosemary
had Left Behind, you had The Omen. There you go.
Omen's terrifying. Yeah, and of
It
course there's
is.
that book series too. I have to get around to reading. I know Birdman bought me all the paperbacks, so I want to get around to reading those. Um. So anyway, what are we talking about? We're talking about William Friedkin. Let me go ahead and read the article. I should bring up my notes too, huh? Is that
If you
important?
have notes, absolutely. All I got is the
Whatever.
article.
Which is basically me cutting and pasting what is.
Right.
And of course I'm at the bottom. What you sipping on right now?
I believe it or not, I'm back to cherry Coke. I haven't had one in a very long time. So
Cherry Coke is nice. William Friedkin, the Maverick film director who helped revolutionize 1970s Hollywood with electrifying, era-defying classics, The French Connection and The Exorcist, died Monday, according to a statement from his family. Friedkin died of heart failure and pneumonia at his home in Los Angeles. His family said he was 87. He was synonymous with the new Hollywood era of the late 1960s and 70s, with risk-taking young filmmakers, wrested creative control from studio suits, and shook up the system. He was known for injecting familiar genres with live wire energy and edge. He won an Academy Award for directing The French Connection, a white knuckle 1971 crime thriller about a brash New York City narcotics detective played by Gene Hackman. The film, anchored by a deliriously high octane car chase, also won Oscars for Best Picture and Best Adapted Screenplay. Yet, not that you should be censoring any movie, but really you're censoring that one.
yeah,
That just
exactly.
makes it obvious. It makes me wonder what else they've been censoring, because this is the one
Right.
people noticed. In an interview with NBC News in 2021, Friedkin said he came to believe he took, quote unquote, too many chances in filming that famous car chase. The fact that nobody got hurt is a miracle, he said. The fact that I didn't get killed, the fact that some of the crew members didn't get hurt or killed, that's a chance I would never take again. I was young and I didn't give a damn. I just went out and did it. The Exorcist, a singular, terrifying 1973 horror masterpiece about a teenage girl possessed by Satan, gave Friedkin the biggest box office hit of his career. The movie earned more than 440 million globally, shocking audiences around the world with its head-spinning violence and disturbing imagery. This summer it was Barbie that won over the crowds with head-spinning violence and disturbing imagery. I'm sorry. Wait. Okay.
Right.
Friedkin also directed a series of cult favorites that have earned loyal following over the years, including The Suspenseful Sorcerer, the Al Pacino psycho drama Cruisin', and the crime epic To Live and Die in L.A. I need to watch all of these. Uh,
Yes.
he struggled to reach the commercial and critical highs of his 70s outfit, though, and in recent years he steadily retreated from the limelight. It's interesting. I own a Blu-ray of Sorcerer because I heard good things about it, so I've been meaning to watch that. It's supposed to be, I think it's about a guy trying to transport on a truck is it nitroglycerin?
Nitroglycerin is the one that is not shelf stable, and any impact can cause it to explode.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that's what it's about. It's supposed to be very suspenseful. In a statement, Directors Guild of America President Leslie Link Glatter praised Friedkin as a master of storytelling across multiple genres. When it comes to directorial influence, Billy was a titan, both on the screen and behind the scenes, for his fellow members at the DGA, Glatter said. Um, Glatter also told Disney to please stop censoring movies of great directors. Oh, wait, no, Glatter did not say that, but
Yeah.
maybe Glatter should. Maybe this was the moment.
Deleted Scene said that Das Wolfen explained to him that the version Criterion aired was a TV edit aired by mistake. The Blu-ray has not been censored. He's seen it.
I know, but what I'm trying to say is recently that Blu-ray has come into print again. Because I mean, actually, let me double check that. Let's see if Best Buy has it, because I know I saw it on Amazon, and I'm like, well, this thing's popping up again, because it was out of print, and people were all scrambling. I remember I bought a used copy of the DVD because I couldn't find the Blu-ray, and I'm just worried. And maybe it's fine. It would seem like a lot of trouble Disney would go to.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that the censored version, it is available on purchased digital copies. I own a purchased digital copy of The French Connection that I bought on Vudu. This is my own supposedly private property, which really isn't. And from what I heard, people that had bought it uncensored years ago.
Can you hear me sneering through my microphone?
I own movies in various formats, Mr. Pacelli.
That is absolutely, you're right. All I'm saying is you were warned about the dangers and liabilities of owning something in a cloud format that you do not
cloud
physically
format, the
own
flood
offline.
doesn't destroy either. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I had special circumstances. It cost me $5, so
Yeah.
not the end of the world, I suppose, but still, it's annoying. And you would think that when you're buying a digital movie that it should be okay. Keep in mind that this was censored. If it was uncensored when you bought it, they can still censor it after the fact. I've heard
That's
this
exactly
happen with people.
right.
So this is rather terrifying that we're living
I've
in
been
this world.
saying this for a very long time.
It's
you
one
will
thing if-
own nothing and you will be happy. You will
Yes.
eat the bugs.
What is Continuing Chronicles saying? Barbie, we were somewhere around Barstow on the edge of the desert and the drugs began to take hold. I remember saying something like, I feel lightheaded. Maybe you should drive.
Yeah.
Is that from the Barbie movie or is that from some... And the sky was low, the huge bags. Oh, here we go. He's talking about dying around, which is going about 100 miles on. Where are we? Friedkin. Anyway, it's too bad.
Yeah.
William Friedkin passed away. He's survived by his wife and former Paramount Pictures head Sherry Lansling and sons Cedric and Jack, according to a family statement. The family plans to hold a private service.
Yeah.
She was the former Paramount Pictures head. Couldn't she have maybe... Was Sorcerer Paramount released? We needed a special edition. Paramount is the worst of the studios for releasing special edition DVDs. Did you know that?
Doesn't surprise me.
For older movies, they will not give you bells and whistles. Like, I think they finally... It was like twisting their arm, and they finally released The African Queen with Bogart.
Look, this is another example of stupid executives leaving money on the table, right? A smart marketer would say, how can we make more money off this? Re-release it. Okay, now re-release it, upgraded to the newest technology. Now re-release it with some special edition, behind the scenes and interviews and you just keep re-releasing and re-releasing with more stuff and people will buy it. You don't do that, you never see that money.
Fear and Loathing in Barbie Land. Oh, no, we appreciate it, Joker. It's fine. It's fine. Trying to spread happiness. Did you ever see Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with Johnny Depp?
That's the one where he's high through the whole movie.
It's a weird movie.
Yeah, I have.
Oh,
and there is a what was the movie that Johnny Depp did the voice of a little lizard?
I need to watch it. It's called Rango.
Because there is a parallel between those two movies, like a little bit of an Easter egg in the cartoon kind of thing.
That's another one I bought on Blu-ray but never got around to watching because that was I think it was a bit of a riff on spaghetti westerns too, wasn't it?
Oh, I hadn't thought about it, but
maybe
yeah,
it
kind
isn't,
of.
But that's the impression I got. Like maybe like it's because it was a western, right? Wasn't that?
Yeah. Thanks, man. I knew Rango. Right. Rango's got
Rango,
a Fear and Loathing nod in it. Definitely worth checking it. So if you have seen Fear and Loathing, check out Rango too, and just
That's like them doing a nod to Glenn Ross in The Boss Baby, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly right. Good call, yes.
So the Walt Disney. Okay, so I guess we go on to Disney. Rest in peace, William Friedkin. Your movies will be enjoyed with scenes cut out of them.
I do want to underscore exactly what you said there. It's a shame that the end of his career was kind of tainted by this streaming altering kind of thing. But now we're going to start looking at what I feel is part of the possible outcome for the streaming industry. And this is just one small part of it. If you're going to start editing and, whatever, the way that streaming has been handled and digital media has been handled has really hurt the industry overall.
Yeah, I have to figure out a way to do my headlines because I suspect that if you put Disney in your headline, you get punished by the algorithm.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. So it doesn't mean we're not going to talk about Disney every
Right.
week if need be on the stream. Powers that be. But so stay tuned. Disney plus Hotstar sheds 12.5 million subscribers in fiscal quarter three amid strategy shift. Streaming losses. This is not good.
No. But it's not like, market analysts and just people with any business acumen didn't see it coming. Because we sure did.
The Walt Disney Company saw its streaming losses narrow in the second quarter amid an exodus of 12.5 million subscribers from Disney Plus Hotstar streaming platform in India. For the quarter, Disney exceeded Wall Street's targets on its earnings per share but missed on revenue. The mouse reported total revenue of 22.3 billion, up 4% from a year ago quarter, and operating income of 3.6 billion, down 6%. Disney executives
Wait, real quick before you get too far into it, I wanted to cover this whole Hotstar platform in India. Midnight's Edge has done some great coverage of this and how they had this deal with Hotstar. It's now over. Lost a lot of streamers and their numbers they were using to their advantage. They'd say we have all these streaming bodies, all these subscriptions, but the fact is, in pure numbers, they didn't equate, 1-to-1 with streams here in the United States because it was at a huge discount over in India. And, without getting too far into those weeds, what I do want to point out, though, is something that's happening that I see in the market that I don't hear enough people talking about. And I think Valiant Renegade is starting to kind of mention this a little bit around the edges. The market is changing. 2-3 years ago, up to 5-10 years ago, we were talking about movies being made not just for the domestic market, but being made for the international market, trying to please China, trying to please Japan, trying to please, all the other countries, and
India,
really,
yeah.
and India,
Yes.
and really ultimately putting out a product that pleased nobody, which has really hurt the market. Amplified by the lockdowns and the economy and all the other things going on in the world. But what it's doing is it is forcing the market, especially the entertainment industry, to take another look at the world market and go, maybe we need to rethink this, and maybe we need to start getting back to basics. And I think this is a part of that whole equation. And I'm sorry to get you off on a tangent. I just wanted to make that point here.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Disney thinks it can be. I think part of the problem is a lot of these companies feel they're now these international global companies now. They can just be in every country and they'll be perfectly accepted. And I don't know what went wrong with
it is a misunderstanding of the market. It is an assumption, and you know what happens when you make assumptions. An assumption that because we are a global economy, the entire globe is our market base. And that may be true, but every country is different. Even within those countries, you have segments that are different. You have to understand your market, right?
So you're saying that they were producing content, but they weren't understanding the market they were producing the content for.
Absolutely. If you are, I don't know, give me
Go ahead. Huh?
If you are a razor company, right, and you are marketing razors to men, you are going to market them differently to women. And when you lose track of that and you do stupid things that alienate one side or the other, you cut your audience in half and you lose half your revenue, right? When you sell deodorant, you're selling deodorant differently to men than you are to women. And I'm just talking about within the United States. I'm not even talking outside the United States where you're going to have a different concept of fashion and hygiene and what's appropriate and stuff, and what's appropriate in marketing. If you don't understand all of these different demographics you're marketing to, you are screwing yourself in the marketplace, and I see that happening here.
Let's look at Euro Disneyland and the French reaction to it when it first started. They were angry. And they said certain things like they wouldn't serve wine in the park, which I guess is a big part of French culture.
Exactly.
You have a glass of wine. And it just was not going over well. Then later on, a Disney Imagineer, I think from America, he went over there and they created a ride, a Jules Verne ride, I think based on From the Earth to the Moon. When they made that ride, suddenly the French were loving the park because they were paying honor to one of their great literary
Jules Verne, exactly.
And they found it to be and then suddenly the French were now warming up to the park. And I think that's the problem. You have to know who your audience is. Now, I don't know what they were producing in India for Disney Plus. I would assume if I had known better, I would have gone to some people over in Bollywood, said, "Hey, what do the..."
Well, somebody in the chat might know better, but wasn't this Hotstar the platform that was carrying the rugby or something like that they were following? It was a big kind of deal, and when Disney lost that, they basically lost India, so to speak. Can you imagine, like, using your example, if Disney had lost the rights, which I know is not possible, but, just for the sake of argument, if they'd lost the rights to the Jules Verne novels and they couldn't have that, in France anymore, or whatever.
Yeah, or even over here if ESPN lost the rights to football. Like the NFL,
yeah, exactly. So,
or something, yeah, okay.
And look, this is, in business, you've got to be looking ahead. You've got to be doing a lot of what ifs. Okay, we've got this deal. Why do we have this deal? Because of this. What happens if this happens? Well, we got to be prepared to pivot. We've got to be prepared to, in this case, maybe walk away from the India market or find another way to keep a handhold in India. Whatever. And these the people making these decisions, these glorified professional weather guessers that they put in charge of Disney, just can't think that far ahead.
So I feel like Disney has gotten too big for its own good, and I think that it's like a house of cards.
There is absolutely a Romanesque element to it, where the borders of the empire have been pushed too far, and they are unable to manage all of it.
Let's see. Disney executives previously warned Wall Street subscriber losses were coming from the Disney Hotstar service amid a strategy to move away from low-margin subscribers, the loss of key sports rights in the region. Yeah, you had mentioned that. Yeah. Losses in the direct-to-consumer unit were cut in half compared to the same period last year. That's a lot, actually.
Yes.
DCC operators delivered 512 million losses compared to 1 billion in the same time frame. Disney notched a gain of 800,000 subscribers in other parts of the world. In U.S. and Canada, lost 300,000 subscribers, while the streaming-only site of Hulu gained about that same number.
And David corrected me. It was cricket, not rugby. But he knew what I was talking about.
Oh yeah, they're big in the cricket over in India. Apparently there was a Bollywood movie about them. There was going to be a cricket game, and the results of the game were I think they'd either have double the tax by the British colonials, or they would get rid of their tax if they won the game. I don't know if it's a true story or not. That reminds me of us with the British and the taxes in America before the Revolution, right? That's I guess they were going to find a cricket match to get rid of the taxes. I don't know. But in the 8 months since my return,
Well, let me tell you something. If that was the case, then you better believe we'd be playing friggin' full contact cricket, where I swing that bat and I'm not hitting a ball, I'm hitting a head.
Okay. I thought you were going to say I'm hitting a different ball or set of balls. Anyway.
Okay, good point.
Okay.
You one-upped me on that one. Thank you.
Are we going to talk about Bob Iger's quote here? Our results this quarter are reflective of what we've accomplished through the unprecedented transformation we're undertaking at Disney to restructure the company improve efficiencies, and restore creativity to the center of our business, said Disney CEO Bob Iger. In the 8 months since my return, these important changes are creating a more cost effective, coordinated, and streamlined approach to our operations that has put us on track to exceed our initial goal of 5.5 billion in savings, as well as improve our direct to consumer operating income by roughly 1 billion in just 3 quarters. While there is still more to do, I'm incredibly confident in Disney's long term trajectory because of the work we've done, the team we now have in place, and because of Disney's core foundations of creative excellence and popular brands and franchises.
That kind of comment is as weak as catching your kid reaching into the cookie jar just before dinner, calling him out and going, Mommy, I was getting a cookie for you. You know, it's that kind of stupidity, you know?
No mom ever believed that line.
And no person hearing that quote should be buying that this is actually a good thing. And if Bob Iger believes that, he is more freaking incompetent than I was giving him credit for.
On the conference call with Wall Street Analytics, Iger made it clear that Disney is refocused on rationalizing the volume of content that we make, what we spend, and what markets we invest in.
He's not capable of being rational.
Planning for the streaming future nonetheless means finding quote unquote economics designed to deliver significant and sustained profitability, he said. The labor conflict that has Hollywood in a state of paralysis has delivered a short-term boost for Disney's larger cost-cutting goals. Kevin Lansbury, Disney's newly appointed chief financial officer, told analysts that content spending for the company's fiscal 2023, which ends in September, will come in at $27 billion, or about $3 billion less than the forecast, in part because of the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes. See, they're saving money.
You know what? And David makes a great point. Should anyone believe what Iger said, since he's the one that put them in this position? Absolutely right, David. Absolutely.
Anyway, I still don't understand this separating out of Hulu and Disney Plus. Wouldn't it make sense to have Disney be the family side of your streaming service? That's still a well-known brand, but then have the other side for your things like ABC and FX and the Fox channel and plus the 20th Century Fox back catalog. You could rival HBO Max. I think, I forgot, they don't call it HBO Max anymore. They call it Max because nobody knows what they're doing. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I know. I like Lester saying, apparently Iger knows how to do the safety dance. Everybody look at your hands, or look at his hands and see what he's got him into.
No, his hands are pulling money. I'm telling you, I'm seriously starting to wonder if these 100, 200, 300 million productions are really costing that much, or if someone's...
Oh, that's a whole other topic, but you're absolutely right.
No,
where is the money going? Because it's definitely not going on the frickin' screens.
All right. So,
but it's not just Disney that's having these problems either.
Oh yeah, go ahead and post it.
Yeah. CW posts 78 million Q2 loss as Nexstar brass promises Moneyball content spend strategy at revamped broadcast. Now, I'm going to step away for just a second, but you're going to go ahead and read the article, so I'll be back.
Okay, so here's a bunch of Greek salad. Okay, Nexstar reported its second quarter 2023 earnings Tuesday, revealing the TV station's group giant had turned a profit of $153 million in quarter two, while its CW broadcast network posted a loss of $78 million for the April-June quarter. For the CW, which was formerly acquired by Nexstar in October 2022 from Paramount Global and Warner Brothers Discovery, a year-over-year comparison can't be drawn based on the lack of financial results disclosed publicly by its former parent companies. But it's long been known the old CW was not profitable, and the $78 million is an improvement over the $83 million loss the CW posted quarter one of this year. Nexstar CFO Leah expanded on the CW's performance during the earnings call Tuesday morning, stating that the CW generated $75 million in revenue in quarter two, and with some favorable adjustments accounting for a $3 million one-time expense attributed mostly to restructuring charges, took only a $74 million loss for the quarter. That narrowing loss is an indicator of where Nexstar, which also owns News Nation, and The Hill, is at in its journey to reach profitability. The CW in 2025. On that front, the company is taking a Moneyball-inspired approach to content spending at the CW. Per Nexstar CEO Perry Sook, the network has stacked its fall 2022 lineup, a schedule set amid the early days of the ongoing writer strike in May and somewhat tweaked as the Actors Guild joined the picket lines in July, which with acquired dramas and comedies, new and acquired reality content, and a whole lot of sports. To drive the growth of the network, we are making, quote, Moneyball-inspired investments in content that matters to our broadcast viewer, including live sports, in order to grow our distribution and advertising revenues, Sook said in the quarter two earnings call Tuesday. In less than 1 year of ownership, we've already secured the rights to a variety of sports properties, including LIV golf, ACC football, and basketball coming to the CW this September. The NASCAR Xfinity Series started its engine on the CW in February of 25. And sports-related programming such as Inside the NFL, which will premiere at 8 p.m. on September 5th, and our sports documentary series 100 Days to Indy, I'm assuming the Indy 500, all of which are expected to accelerate the viewership and revenue growth for the CW ecosystem. In fact, with these three agreements beginning in 2025, the CW will have 48 weekends per year of live sports programming. As our sports partners will tell you, broadcast television is the best medium for live sports, and it delivers the highest ratings and wildest distribution to their fan bases while providing promotion and engagement at the local level to drive attendance and ancillary revenue streams. Does this mean that Batman show without Batman is not going to be on anymore? The Gotham Knights thing, which apparently a lot of these DC series, I don't know if these are leftovers. I mean, does the CW still have rights to do DC series?
I don't know. I'm sure. My understanding was they at least were finishing out whatever shows were already in the can. I don't know if they had the rights to continue them. I don't know.
Okay, so they're really pushing sports. Does that
Which
make
makes sense. That's money.
A live thing. That's something you want to watch live, not streaming, right? I mean,
right.
Technically, you can stream live too, but
right.
It's like over time, the CW is increasing, looking like Fox with the same number of hours in weekday programming and its growing sports portfolio. What the heck is going on with this Fox channel?
No idea. None at all.
I used to watch TV shows on the Fox channel. Then Disney bought them out, and Disney also owns ABC. Why does Disney need two networks?
I don't know, but chances are they're not going to be having them much longer. Remember, Disney's planning a yard sale.
Do you watch anything live on television anymore?
No, I do not. Not a thing.
I haven't for a while either. I
have the capability of watching terrestrial television and don't.
I'm assuming sports is the one thing you can get away with live. I mean, are these network channels really making money at this point? I think I read another article a couple weeks back that they're just going to try and squeeze them dry until basically people move fully over to streaming. But
which maybe, I can't fault them for that. That makes sense, right?
So maybe the argument is the sports audience tends to like to watch things live, and why not just put on the TV? I'm assuming you get yourself. Can there be a CW app that can do the same thing? Are they allowed to do that?
Yeah, I don't know. But whatever platform you're going to put it on, look, I still feel like there is this disconnect in these companies and their desire for proprietary, streaming services and whatnot, and charging for them. As soon as you put it behind that paywall, now you are cutting off potential revenue from licensees, from commercials, from,
So they're going against this paywall strategy, perhaps.
Yes.
Maybe it'll work. I don't know what some of these sporting events are, but I'm not really much of a sports guy. I mean, obviously, It's like NASCAR, like car racing stuff's gonna be on there. Also, golf. Do people watch golf live? I guess they do.
Well, and to what Lester San Jose is saying, when you start talking monopolization, that's great for an industry where they have a product you absolutely need. And this is something that that Nanette used to communicate to our cable company every 6 months when the price would go up. Do you understand? I could walk away from you and never use you again and live just fine. You might want to put me in touch with someone who could do something about this bill.
Oh, we broke from the satellite, and let me tell you something. That
Mm-hmm.
they'll do the hard sell on you before leaving. They will. They will try to keep the lasso on you. Do you understand when you're trying to give them up? They do not make it easy to get out of those contracts. I'm sure you dealt with it too, right?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not talking about contracts. I'm talking about as soon as the bill goes up and you're up for a new contract, you go, yeah, cancel me, I'm
Done.
out.
Done.
You
Yeah, but even when you do that, they're
you
gonna
raise
fight
it
you for the email.
by 50, 100%. How about 0% forever going forward? Oh, really? Now you want to negotiate? Okay, yeah, put me through to somebody. Thank you.
I don't know hardly anyone who watches TV anymore. Most of my friends watch one movie per year. That this year was Oppenheimer or The Sound of Freedom, and that was it. People have given up on Hollywood. This is one of, in my opinion, one of the worst summers I've experienced for summer blockbusters. And I know in the past, oh, it's the pandemic. We can't release things. A pandemic. We're out of the pandemic now,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
these offerings were terrible. Mission Impossible was fine, but again, it's still a part one.
yeah.
But I give Cruise points for you know
I still am a believer that it didn't do as well as it needed to, only because it got mired down in a battle behind the scenes that cost it too much.
probably. But to be fair, it still did better than the last one they released. Now maybe they were just expecting this one to do that much more, especially considering Maverick did so well. But Maverick was a different type of movie.
It was. That's
And
true.
perhaps I don't know. Maybe after this next part two, maybe we should wind down the Mission Impossible movies for a while till we
Oh,
figure
and I
it out.
meant to share with you that I got both Top Gun and Maverick on DVD, so I'm going to do a double feature watch of them and let you know what I thought about Maverick. I got to
I
watch Top Gun again because it's been so long.
watch Top Gun again. Yeah, watch it, and this Maverick kind of echoes Top Gun. You'll see what I mean when you watch them both.
Good, good.
But Disney squatting on Fox, I don't imagine what they hope to have happen still in the squatting position. I don't know.
I know.
I don't know why they bought Fox. I kept thinking it was to get the X-Men back. Another person said it was because they wanted Hulu. Because Fox owned the big stake in Hulu, which apparently they didn't own it completely because now they're having to buy it up from Comcast because Comcast still owns and they're required to do that. Oh,
Well, what I had heard, and this relates to streaming and the strike and so forth. This the first time I heard about this was, of course, from Midnight's Edge, talking about where are they going to get content as things are all tied up and people are on strike and writers are on strike and so forth. Well, they're starting to look to other markets. So as we continue with this topic of streaming, looks like Prime Video is looking to Korea for some of their content.
yeah, I'm actually interested in watching this. I'll go ahead. In fact, you get Prime Video as well, don't you? So
I do, and I hardly ever watch anything, but I should.
the Jack Reacher show is worth checking out. I enjoyed the Jack Reacher show.
Mm-hmm.
The basically child books. Yeah, Prime puts some good stuff on, and then they have junk on there too. It just depends.
Yeah.
But the Killing Vote Korean crime drama series launched by Prime Video. Uh, these are getting increasingly popular, and I watched one the other like last year. It was the Dr. Brain on the Apple service. So if I get a chance, I'm going to try to watch more of these because they're interesting. In fact, I'm watching one on I think Netflix has one called The Kingdom, which is basically a Korean period drama, palace intrigue. A crown prince running for his
Yeah.
life over a usurper, and then you throw Living Dead into the mix. It's not bad though. I'm enjoying it so far. But Amazon owned Prime Video has launched The Killing Vote, a hard-boiled crime drama series from Korea. The 12-part show uses the premise that a text message is sent to ordinary citizens who get to vote for or against the application of the death penalty in individual criminal cases. If more than 50% vote in favor, the criminal is killed by a mysterious character called Dog Mask. That in turn creates difficult choices for police officers. They may have differing views on whether such rough justice is justified or not, and are tasked with tracking down Dog Mask. The show stars Park Hae-jin as a detective character who is immediately caught in the dilemma, but with career advancements his position may be swayed over time. Park Sun-woong plays a legal scholar whose views are also ambiguous, but who turned himself in and finds himself in prison after killing the rapist who attacked his daughter. Lim Ji-young portrays a lieutenant in the police cybersecurity bureau who was once seen as a high flyer, but who has come to be seen as a nuisance by her colleagues due to her inability to avoid speaking out. Directed by Park Shin-woo and written by Jo Young, the show is adapted from a popular webtoon, National Death Penalty Vote, by Si-young and Yoon Yi-poom, that was published on Kaiko Webtoon and Kaiko Page. Production is by Pan Entertainment Studios. Show launched its first episode on Korea's SBS on Thursday. Both SBS and Prime Video will upload subsequent episodes every Thursday at 9 p.m. Korean time. Local Korean media report that company's initial plan was to make 2 episodes available at launch, but this was scuppered by a side effect of the recent typhoon in which a real-world emergency news broadcast on SBS took precedence. Oh, well, I'm sorry they went through a typhoon. Hope they're all right. Let's see, though. What does scoopered mean?
Got me on that one.
Maybe it's scrapped, and maybe there was some kind of spell check that went wrong or something. I don't know. Anyway, looks interesting. Looks kind of prescient for our times, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Like court of public opinion deciding life or death on someone, right?
Yeah.
And I love how some of the police are not sure how they feel about this, and it's like this is vigilante justice. You need to be against this if you're a police officer, right? I'm assuming is this like a criminal that I'm kind of curious. Are these like criminals that escape justice like by technicalities? So now someone's posting this thing, so a vigilante will come after the person. What do you think?
I mean, it could be. I mean, I'll tell you what. I'd kind of be interested in a like near future police procedural that deals with a court system where your jury is like everyone on the internet or something like that. That would be interesting. Well, depends on how you look at it.
And here's the thing with the jury of your peers: it's you're in person, sitting in a courtroom, and your face is there, and you're talking with other people and deliberating. That's different than being some anonymous person online that just votes yay or nay to kill somebody, and there are no consequences.
That is true.
That's what's very disturbing about this. You know, I mean, people are going to say yes.
This is why the jury system is so important. Everybody has their social media opinions about whatever case it is, whether it's O.J. Simpson or it's Amber and Johnny, or any other. What was it? The kid up in Wisconsin. With the AR. I don't remember. I'm forgetting his name now. Everyone has their opinion about it, and it's like, look, you didn't even watch. You don't even know the facts of the case. You did not, listen to the testimony. You are just regurgitating what you heard, someone, repeat about it, which may or may not be right. And I think a lot of times people have their opinions about, innocence and guilt without knowing what the jury knows.
Right. Are you talking about Rittenhouse?
Rittenhouse, yeah, thank you.
What was interesting about that was the whole thing going around is that, he came from out of state and, he was interfering and, he did, and then, of course, you learn, no, he wasn't from out of state.
Right. There was a lot of things that they said that were absolutely not true if you watched the testimony, and it was actually a really, really good case, and it was broadcast. You could have watched it, yeah. And but everybody had their belief, and I mean, there is still to this day people that believe he killed some black people. He didn't kill a single black person.
I know.
You know?
It's because people online, they say stuff and people are ready to believe the worst, and then
Yeah.
it's. Let's see. Lester says Jack Ryan was decent. I liked it more than Mission Impossible 7. Yeah. There's the final season of Jack Ryan's on Amazon, starring John Krasinski, who I argued maybe should have been a pick to play a new Indiana Jones, because if he could play Jack Ryan, maybe he could play Indiana Jones. But instead, we got Dial of Destiny, and now we're not going to get any more Indiana Jones movies. So
Yeah, I have no interest in Dial of Dysentery. I really don't.
Netflix has been utilizing foreign-made content from Rwanda. Yeah, I know they do a lot of Korean dramas on there.
I'm telling you, the U.S. entertainment industry better get their crap together, or they will no longer lead the world market in entertainment anymore.
Well, I don't know what's going on right now. Well, now speaking of the U.S. entertainment industry, let's go to the box office results. This just makes me want to.
And this is another one of those. I gotta drop it in two parts because
makes me
long titles.
Cry.
Yep.
The fact that this movie did this well, and it says, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll go to see it and I'll see the light, and I'll try to convince you to see it.
Well, you'll realize what a toxic part of the patriarchy you are, and you should feel bad about yourself.
Like I said, we must join Barbie. You know, it's like this. I don't know. I feel like we're making headway, and then this happens, and then it's like Greta Gerwig's fantasy comedy added a remarkable $53 million for its third weekend of release, a decline of just 43% from prior fame. And that's not including this weekend, which I don't know how it's doing right now. Barbie has generated $459 million in North America and surpassed the $1 billion mark globally after just 17 days in theaters. It's the first film directed solely by a woman to cross the coveted milestone. Did I tell you that I was in the grocery store and I saw a teenage girl wearing like a Barbie sweatshirt, and scrawled on the back was, "You are enough."
Oh gosh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess that's the message of the movie. So maybe a cult will develop around it. All right, Christopher Nolan's.
You know, that's fine. You are enough. You can live in your home with your cats. You can be happy alone, and just stay the hell away from the rest of us.
Don't strive to be better, right? Just
right.
Okay. Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer 2 stayed strong in its third outing with $28.7 million, dropping from 39%. Only 39% from last weekend, and bringing domestic ticket sales to $228 million. The R-rated historical drama has grossed $552 million at the worldwide box office, becoming the director's sixth film to cross the $500 million mark. Oppenheimer, which has remained a force in IMAX, landed its third place on domestic box office charts, behind the sequel to The Meg and ahead of Mutant Mayhem. Overall, it's a rare weekend in which four movies earned at least $28 million between Friday and Sunday. As a result, the box office is 98% ahead of the same weekend in 2022 and 19% above the same weekend in 2019. A rare quadruple threat of 25 million plus performers is giving another terrific weekend for theaters, says Paul Durjarbidian, a senior ComScore analyst. Meg 2 The Trench opened in second place with $30 million from 3,503 North American screen theaters. It's a decent start, a bit of significant drop from the original 2018 film, which opened to $45 million and became a surprise smash with $530.5 million globally. The follow-up film about scientists who take on giant prehistoric sharks cost $130 million, so Warner Brothers is banking on another strong turnout at the international box office to offset the price tag. China Media Capital co-financed the film. So, okay, so this is kind of a Chinese co-production then.
It sounds like, yeah.
The good news is that despite terrible reviews and mediocre audience scores, Meg 2 The Trench has collected $112 million overseas for a mighty global start of $142 million. How is that good news that this has terrible reviews and mediocre audience scores? This sounds like it's not a good movie. Of course, I don't know what that means either, so
yeah,
maybe it's not that bad. It could be the shill media trying to attack it. I don't know. The drop from the first film's start shows the series is wearing thin, says David A. Gross, who runs the movie consulting firm Franchise Entertainment Research. But foreign is where the Meg makes its money, and the overseas openings are strong. In fourth place, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem pulled in a solid $28 million from 3,858 venues over the weekend and 43 million over its first 5 days of release. The PG film will continue to benefit the coming weeks from its A Cinema score at 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. It cost 70 million, which less than recent animated offerings such as Pixar's 200 million budgeted Elemental and Sony's 100 million budgeted Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We are thrilled, says Chris Aronson, Paramount's president of global domestic distribution. Getting to 43 million in 5 days in August is fantastic as an all-audience film, not just a family film. Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, the creative team behind Superbad, wrote and produced Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which follows Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo as they set out to conquer the streets of New York City after spending years sheltered from the human world. Before the film was released, Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon announced the development of a sequel as well as a 2-season Paramount Plus series that will serve as a bridge between the big screen adventures. Turning to animation opens up creative possibilities and broadcasters broadens the appeal demographically, Gross says. Disney's The Haunted Mansion remake dropped to number 5 with 9 million from 3,740 theaters, a 16% dip from its debut. The spooky film, which was curiously released in July, has grossed 42 million in North America and 59 million globally to date. It's shaping up to be a theatrical misfire for Disney, which spent 150 million to produce the film and tens of millions on promotional efforts. I did not see any promotional efforts for this movie.
Yeah.
And why did they release it in October? Wouldn't that make sense? Halloween time?
I don't know.
Family film to take the kids to and for Halloween time, but I don't know. Elsewhere, A24's low budget thriller Talk to Me added a healthy 6.27 million from
But actually, Midnight's Edge has a great video up about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle situation and how even if it doesn't do well at theaters, doesn't matter. It's all about licensing. And merchandising, where the real money is made.
This is sick. They were bringing up the Abrams Star Trek movies, too. It's another thing like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've heard from several people this is not a good film. I know Tom from Midnight's Edge was not a fan. I don't know. It just... What do I know? Am I the Turtles audience anymore? I don't know who the Turtles audience is.
Clearly not.
It's not me.
Clearly not.
But I just know a lot of old school Turtles fans were not happy with this latest outing. And I'm saying this as a guy that didn't hate the Michael Bay produced movies. I know a lot of people did, but I thought there was some competent action, at least in the first one. But
well, I never saw the Michael Bays because after the Jenny Lorenzo video about it, I was like, okay, I'm not even going to bother.
Jenny Lorenzo?
I'll share it with you later on. We talked about it back in the day.
Maybe I did watch it. Yeah,
the FU Michael Bay,
There was that thing, too, where apparently the actor, because they had to wear special suits, the Turtles actors, and
right.
Apparently all the crew cleared out, and they said someone was going to come get them out of the suits, because you can't really get out of the suits, and then they were left in there for like hours, and they were like, no one's coming to get us, and it's... I think he said he was contractually obligated to be in 3 movies. He was happy they didn't do a third one, because I think he was the one who played Nightwing on the Titan series.
Okay.
He told a horror story. I think it was on the Michael Rosenbaum show. He was telling a horror story about working on that
My gosh.
Turtles movie. Anyway, so I don't know. I mean, what thoughts do you have to say about the box office? Are you surprised Barbie has legs? I guess literally and figuratively.
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying. Okay.
Originally, I was. Then I was just dismayed, and then I realized exactly why it's happening, and it points to a much bigger problem in our society. Whenever I hear a bunch of people not seeing the problem here, that is a problem.
Do you know what's interesting? This is not a blame the geeks thing. This is not a geek property. Let's be honest here.
Yeah. Okay,
this is... I guess this was a mainstream audience movie. They could have... And this could have been anything. That this had been made 10 years ago would have been a completely different movie, I think. But
yeah.
All right. Bill Maher has some comments on the Barbie movie.
When the left loses Bill Maher, they've gone way too far.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty I don't agree with Bill Maher on. Trust me about this, but it's interesting when he goes on these rants like he does. He gets angry when people at the left are representing the world falsely. Here you go. Add Bill Maher to the small but loud anti-Barbie crowd. The HBO real-time host posted a lengthy critique of the filmmaker Greta Gerwig's summer sensation, which just grossed 1 billion global mark at the box office. I was hoping it wouldn't be preachy, man-hating, and a zombie lie. Alas, it was all three, Marr wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter. Here's what Marr had to say about the Margot Robbie hit. Fair warning, the below is a tad ranty, not entirely easy to follow, contains mild spoilers, and generally a bit of an eye roll. Okay. What is a zombie lie? Something that never was true, but certain people refuse to stop saying it. Like he makes a comment about tax cuts for the rich, or something that used to be true but no longer is. But when certain people pretend it's still true, Marr wrote. Barbie is this kind of zombie lie. Spoiler alert: Barbie fights the patriarchy, right up to the Mattel board who created her, consisting of 12 white men. The patriarchy, except there is a Mattel board in real life, and it's 7 men and 5 women. Okay, not perfect, even Steven, but not the way the board in the movie, which takes place in 2023, is portrayed, and not really any longer deserving of the word patriarchy. Yes, there was one, and remnants of it remain, but this movie is so 2000 late. He also goes on to say, at one point, Barbies have to win over the Kens, and they are told to do this by pretending to act helpless and not know how to do stuff, Mark continued. Helen Gurley Brown called she wants her premise back. Yes, that was a thing. I saw Barbie with a woman in her 30s who said, I don't know a single woman of any age who would act like that today. I know. How could I know about the patriarchy? I am a man, he added. That argument is so old and so silly. Of course, none of us can know exactly what others go through in life, but I can see the world around me and I can read data. The real Mattel board is a pretty close mirror of the country, where 45% of the 449 board seats filled last year in Fortune 500 companies were women. Truth is, I'm not the one who's out of step. I'm living in the year we're living in. Barbie is fun. I enjoyed it, but it is a zombie lie. And people who don't get along with zombie lies did not take some red pill, just staying true to current reality. Let's live in the year we're living in.
Well, that line right there is him completely misunderstanding what the red pill is.
I know.
The red pill is not you suddenly become conservative. The red pill is seeing reality. And yes, that's exactly what he turns around and says it is.
There are people who are red pilled that don't necessarily consider themselves conservatives, or,
right.
It's just you're seeing the world.
They assume that red and blue means conservative versus liberal, and that's not what the red pill is.
Yeah, because that's the problem. They see red state, blue state, and they're making that.
It's the difference between seeing the truth and remaining ignorant. That is what the red pill and blue pill are.
Yeah, and it means the red pill, being red pill means different things to different people. But I think the crux of it is seeing the world how it is, not as how you wish it to be.
Right.
Yeah. So,
and in fact, I'll go even further and say that if you see the world the way it is, even if that's a miserable thing, you're still better off because you are prepared to deal with it. If you pretend the world is the way you want it to be, you will always, always, always be disappointed.
By the way, welcome, Gorilla's Random Thoughts. Welcome to the chat. Okay, let's move on to.
I did drop that link to the Michael Bay video that I was talking about. Everyone can go watch that separately. David Pensack thinks it's very funny. I also dropped it for you in the private chat. You can check it out after the stream.
So yeah, Barbie, the biggest hit of the year, and what can we do? I just don't know. But actually, no. I have to remind myself we still had Sound of Freedom, which was the true underdog this summer. So
exactly, and all I can say is, parents, teach your children, especially your daughters, but your sons too. Teach them. Don't let this continue. When you look at the stupid shit people are doing and saying in the world, communicate well to your children why that's stupid shit.
Also vet their entertainment. Please.
Yeah.
Don't just assume because it's a name that you grew up with that it's the same thing that you grew up with.
Right.
People have gotten their mitts on things.
If you have bread on the counter, you often need to check and make sure it still feels soft and it's not blue and green. Okay? You got to do the same thing with your entertainment companies. Sometimes they go off as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's switch over to a little bit of Warner Brothers DC news. This was news. We commented on this last week, literally. I told you this was coming. I just didn't realize it would be coming so quickly.
So this is interesting because, in a way, this is us having to issue a correction. It should really be the
Well,
current.
not really, because I kind of tempered it at the time, if you go back and listen.
So here's what had happened. Gal Gadot said, "I'm working on Wonder Woman 3," and I think Peter Safran didn't deny it was happening. So what was I supposed to read into the situation?
Right.
So let's go on.
And you
Let's keep
also,
this
and
going.
just real quick to bring everyone up to speed on, in case you didn't or don't remember last week, like I do, because sometimes I sleep between shows. Sometimes I drink between shows, and I forget things. But last week we talked about the fact that Gal was out there saying, "Yeah, I've been talking with James Gunn, and we're going to be working together on Wonder Woman 3 going forward, and blah blah blah, and this and that." And I said, this just doesn't sound right. I said, you don't get rid of Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, but keep Gal. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And all the Henry Cavill fans were just coming out of the woodworks about this, saying, if this is true, I don't want anything to do with this new Gunverse. You did, Henry Cavill dirty and blah, 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 blah. And I said, you know what? This smacks a lot of Henry Cavill saying he was coming back as Superman and putting out stuff on social media, and it was Fugazi. It was all him trying to build up his, get his base riled up to try and use it as a negotiation tactic, and it didn't work. It was because just because they say it doesn't make it true, right? And it looks like Gal did exactly the same thing.
Yeah. So multiple sources with knowledge close to the situation have told.
Oh, and good night, Auditor Dredd. Take care. Thanks for hanging out as long as you could.
Oh, I see the private chat. It's that thing you said. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, go ahead. And multiple sources with knowledge close to the situation have told Collider that Wonder Woman 3 is not in development at DC Studios. This contradicts Gal Gadot's recent interviews where she said she was working on the project in partnership with DC studio heads James Gunn and Peter Safran. In addition, Gunn and Safran do not have plans for a Wonder Woman project aside from Paradise Lost, which is a prequel series on Max. Earlier this month, Gadot had teased Wonder Woman 3 by saying, "I love portraying Wonder Woman. It's so close and dear to my heart. From what I heard from James and from Peter is that we're going to develop a Wonder Woman 3 together." More recently, she was quoted as saying, "I was invited to a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran. They told me," and I'm quoting, "You're in the best hands. We're going to develop Wonder Woman 3 with you. We love you as Wonder Woman, and you've got nothing to worry about, so time will tell." It's unclear at this stage what has caused the discrepancy between the two conflicting narratives. Yeah, because it's not like, oh, you're working on a reboot of Wonder Woman where we're going to cast a different actress. Or something. No, it's specifically saying Wonder Woman 3, which would have to be the same Wonder Woman we saw in the prior two movies.
Yep.
It's unclear what has caused the discrepancy between the two conflicting narratives, while Collider sources are confirmed and echo Variety's subsequent reporting on the matter. No spokesperson for the studio has released an official comment explaining the circumstances around Safran and Gunn's interactions with Gadot. Also unclear is the status of much of DC's slate going into its currently in development relaunch, particularly in the case and with Aquaman and Blue Beetle properties. Blue Beetle is essentially a standalone movie, which means the characters and universes could potentially be part of Gunn and Safran's DC future. Though the studio has not made that clear in one way or the other. Really, because Blue Beetle feels like it's part of this whole zombie Snyderverse universe, but maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen it, but just from the trailer, I don't know. But
It totally depends how well it does. I think if it does well enough, they'll want to keep it. If it doesn't do well, there's probably no impetus to keep it.
But Aquaman may be another story. Previously reported Jason Momoa walked out of DC Studios in high spirits and hoped for his future, leading into the forthcoming release of Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom. The actor posted on his Instagram that he had a meeting with Warner Brothers and DC executives and promised exciting news coming in the near future. Whatever information he was told, he profusely thanked Gunn and Safran, as well as Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav. Whether he's similar to Gadot is incorrect. On that account remains to be seen. I have another. I'm going to prop another theory, and this is outrageous, but maybe this is the truth. Maybe Safran and Gunn are lying to Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot right now.
Could be.
Could they just be outright lying to them? Say, we're gonna make another Aquaman, another Wonder
That
Woman,"
is
and then
that
they
is a
wait, and then they
possibility.
wait until the next two movies to bomb, and then they say, "I'm sorry, it's not going forward after all."
That might be the possibility, or as I said, they could just be pulling stuff out of their asses, fine asses though they are, and they could very well be, just doing it to drum up their own, you know, their own fan base and trying to weasel into something that is just not in the cards.
Actually, that was the Rock that shoved Cavill under the bus. That's fine, but honestly, what was taking them so long, even on the old regime, to get another Superman movie off the ground?
I agree with you.
You're
Deleted
doing
scenes.
like
He,
Suicide Squad movies and all this other nonsense. It's like you have Superman, you recast an actor. Why aren't you doing Superman movies?
The Rock. I just actually watched a really great video about the Rock and his role in the final nail of the coffin of the Snyderverse, but he was not behind the social media posts that Cavill made that said, well, implied that he was coming back as Superman and whatnot. You know, he did his own thing, whether Dwayne Johnson told him to do it or not. He did it, and it backfired. You know.
I'm telling you, I think he's been secretly blacklisted. I think he's been canceled, much like Gina Carano was. Even though I don't think he specifically did anything that was that outrageous. I think they got a whiff from this guy, and now they're thinking he's anti-woke, so now they're pitching him. I think.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I think it's enough to say that he is a fanboy, right? And he wants to be faithful to the IPs, which is
That's important.
very much against the narratives of the current entertainment industry. It is the successful one. It is the one that the entertainment industry should be following. And honestly, I think things are going to come around for him. I think that he is not so on the outs that, when there's gonna be a big purge in the entertainment industry, and I think he'll be coming back.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. So that's it. Are you excited about the Gunverse coming out? Huh?
I'm reticent. Not. I would not. Excited is not the word I would use. I would say reticent and totally prepared to wait and see. Jason Fox, welcome. So glad you are here, my friend. He must have just recently gotten done with his live stream tonight. Definitely check out his channel if you get a chance. He's good people.
45 Studio, welcome.
Yeah.
So I guess now we move into the gaming portion.
Yeah, this is. I have a lot less insight, although I can talk a little bit more when we get to the stuff about Quake. But
we're not going to spend too much time on this one.
Sure.
Does anyone here know Shadow the Ninja for the Nintendo Entertainment System?
I do not know.
This has been the bane of my existence. I think I finally secured a reprint copy of it off eBay. I think I bought 2 other bum cartridges. It's a very good later lifespan NES game that was released by Natsumi, where you got to play as a male or a female ninja, and you fight the evil Emperor Garuda that's invaded the United States. And it's that early 90s.
Sure.
Okay, anyway. Apparently, it's getting remade. I ININ Games will publish Shadow the Ninja Reborn in the West. The company announced the 16-bit style remake from Tango Project was announced as Cage Shadow the Ninja in Japan. It will be available for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC via Steam with English, Japanese, French, Italian, German, Spanish, Korean, traditional Chinese, and simplified Chinese language support. Here's an overview of the game via ININ Games. This Trailblazer Ninja action games is returning after 33 years. The original title was released on the Japanese Nintendo Family Computer by Natsumi Incorporated in 1990. At the time, it was one of the most polished family computer action games and rated as one of the best two-player co-op games. It was also the first of a series of titles that solidified Natsumi's reputation as a master of the action games. Released as Shadow of the Ninja in North America and Blue Shadow in Europe, this classic is finally returning in a completely new production. Key features: legendary two-player simultaneous action. The acclaimed 2D ninja action side-scroller with simultaneous two-player gameplay returns in its new remake. Choose between the male or female character and work together to defeat challenging enemies. Incredibly detailed pixel art quality. The commitment to 16-bit pixel art that was so highly acclaimed in their previous title, Pocky and Rocky Reshrined, will be on display again in this latest release. Enjoy the carefully crafted pixel art as it brings the game back to life. EQ Mizutani back on board. Iko Mizutani, the star composer, helped create the iconic Natsumi sound, is back on board. Mr. Mizutani, who created this Natsumi soundtrack for the original version of the game, as well as Shatterhand and Metarot series. I don't know what Metarot is. Has also been confirmed for this new project. Classic gamers will find delight in this renowned guitar riffs and fast-paced 16-bit melodies. So it's interesting. They got the original composer back for this. He wrote the soundtrack for Shatterhand as well. Do you know what the plot of Shatterhand was?
Not at all, no.
You play this character who's a cyborg, and he has robot hands and can bash the enemies with his cyborg hands.
Sounds cool. Sounds cool.
Okay, whatever. No one cares. Dynamic production is once again taking on the visuals. As with the 90s original, the key visuals and character illustrations will be handled by dynamic production. So it sounds like they're getting a lot of the original creators into this. Not sure if I'll play this version. Looks to I can't describe it. I hate to say this, that I think I agree with you a little bit. That's why I'm even wondering, why did I even post this article? I'm on the fence because I don't want to say it looks cutesy or cartoony. Maybe it does. The original Game of the Guinness was more serious looking, with fighting like ninjas and cyborgs and other things in this game. I don't know if I like the new look either. I'm on the fence. We'll see when it comes out, when I learn more. I like the new soundtrack to it though. It's neat hearing this with hearing the old 8-bit songs with electric guitars now. I kind of like it, but I don't know. So does anybody else care about this game? Anybody else familiar with Shadow the Ninja in the chat? I can play Metal Slug all day long. Yes, I like Metal Slug as well. Have you ever played Metal Slug?
I've never heard of it.
Okay, never mind. Metal Slug is funny. Have you heard of the game Contra?
Yes.
It's almost like a goof on Contra. SNK made it, and I swear you're fighting like I want to say the enemy you're fighting are commie Nazis, basically. Like they combine both groups into one.
Yeah.
And of course also there's sections that take place in the Middle East as well. So it's like Saddam Hussein's people, and it's all a riff. And in the game you rescue POWs that look like the POWs from Rambo, with like the beards and the. And like they say thank you, and they'll give you bullets if you rescue them. And it's just the entire thing's a lark. It's just a lark, and of course, like you're fighting someone in the middle of Baghdad, but then like a huge mech comes out of this like bazaar or something. It's just, I can't explain it. Later games, like they're like in later levels, like you're in Egypt and like you go into the pyramids and you're fighting mummies, and it's just it's completely ridiculous. I think at the end of one of the games. It turns out aliens are involved, and then the enemy soldiers you were fighting fight with you to fight against the aliens. It's a complete lark. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Metal Slug. We're here to talk about Quake II.
There we go. Something I know a little bit about thanks to the homework I did this weekend.
Neo Geo, innovative machine, but expensive. Yes. $500 a cartridge. We don't want to go back to that. Quake 2 Remaster is now available for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. What is Quake 2, you may ask? You young kids that are listening to me. Quake 2 is something you need to buy because you can buy it on your brand new fancy game consoles. Publisher Bethesda Softworks and company id Software have released a remastered version of Quake 2 for PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 via PlayStation Store, Xbox Series and Xbox One via Microsoft Store, and Switch via Nintendo eShop, and PC via Steam and Microsoft Store. It is priced at $9.99 and includes a new expansion pack of Quake 2 64 and more. It is also available via Xbox Game Pass. So if you're subscribed to Game Pass, you don't have to pay for it. You get it. Well, it's like a subscription service. Do you think that Mr. Boomer here had the patience to wait for this game to go on sale and not pay $9.99 for it?
I don't know. Did you?
No.
Okay.
I bought it on the Switch as soon as it came out. In fact, I was looking. They said it was going to have a stealth release Thursday, and I'm like, I'm just going to keep checking the Nintendo eShop, and then I saw it on there. Yoink, bought it. And you know what? Even at $9.99, it's a great value. But developed by id Software in 1997, Quake 2 is a critically acclaimed first-person shooter that introduced an entirely new science fiction narrative and setting. Now experience the authentic, enhanced, and complete version of the original. Key features: experience a military science fiction first-person shooter. Get the original mission packs, The Reckoning and Ground Zero. Play the all-new expansion called The Machine. Get Quake 2 64 for free. I did own Quake 2 for the Nintendo 64. I picked it up on cartridge. Toys R Us had it for $19.99, which was ridiculously low, so I picked it up. It was a really cool console edition of Quake 2 that was actually an original version of Quake 2, all new levels. It wasn't just a port of the PC version. They just handcrafted an original game just for the N64. Now you can play it in this version as well. You can also enjoy online and local multiplayer cooperative play together with cross-play, motion aiming, ready for, I guess, if you own a PlayStation console or the Nintendo Switch with the gyro controls. Experience the original game enhanced. Enjoy the original authentic version of Quake 2 now with up to 4K and widescreen resolution support, enhanced models, improved enemy animations and gore, improved and restored AI behaviors, enhanced cinematics, dynamic and colored lighting, anti-aliasing, depth of field, and the original heavy rock soundtrack by Sonic Mayhem and more. Yeah, it's interesting. Someone made a point that they redid the intro CG animated sequences because they said the ones from 1997 were, I think, 240p at best, so they redid those. That's good. Play the intense military science fiction campaign. Mankind is at war with the Strogg, a hostile alien race that attacked Earth. In response, humanity launched a strike on the Strogg homeworld. It failed, but you survived, outnumbered, outgunned, fight your way through the fortified military installations, and shut down the enemy's war machine. Only then will the fate of humanity be known. Play the all-new Called Machine expansion, a brand new Quake 2 experience from Machine Games consisting of 28 campaign levels and one multiplayer deathmatch map. Enjoy online and local multiplayer and cooperative. Fight the hostile Strogg through the gritty military science fiction campaign and expansion in 4-player online or local split-screen cooperative play.
Wow.
And complete and pure retro-style combat with support for 16-player online, 4-player local split-screen, both support for offline and online deathmatch and team deathmatch. Motion aiming ready for PlayStation and Switch. Improve your gunplay with an option that allows you to aim using gyro controls. Remember the Nintendo Wii?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
With the motion controls. The Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, when you separate them, you can use them like you would use the Wiimotes.
Oh, okay.
So Nintendo didn't get rid of the motion stuff. It's just not used all the time now. Play Quake 2 wherever you want to with Xbox xCloud, available only through Game Pass. So yeah, no matter what system you own on, you're going to get something special. I actually got you the original Quake.
Yes.
Last weekend. The original Quake and Quake 2 thematically have nothing to do with each other. Gameplay-wise, they'll feel similar, though. Okay,
yeah.
They have like a similar feel. This got Quake 2 into a lot of trouble back in the day. Gamers were not happy. See, originally I think they were developing it as its own title, but they figured since the gameplay was so similar, or at least felt like an evolution of the original Quake, they were just going to call it Quake 2. I don't have a problem with this. I thought it would be interesting if the Quake series, from then on, they just similar gameplay, but maybe different themes each time round. You know, like you have a dark fantasy with the first Quake, and this one it's more of a science fiction campaign where you're fighting these horrible aliens on this planet called the Strogg. But Great fun. I don't know if we have any Quake fans in the chat here. Looks like I'll get both that and Quake 3 Arena. You can get Quake 3 Arena on PC. I'm sure that'll be the next one they're going to remaster. Probably in a couple years, you'll see Quake 3 Arena showing up on consoles again. But I do know one thing. When you own the original PC versions of these games, I think they do give you a free upgrade to the remastered version. So that's neat. So if you already own Quake 2, you'll get this version if you already own it. If not, you can just buy this version. It's pretty sweet. What'd you think of the original Quake, though? Pretty intense, huh?
It was fun. Well, I'm not that far into it. I would have spent all weekend playing it if I didn't have other things to do, like the notes for this stream.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's an addictive game. It's what I would call a desert island game.
Yeah.
I love Doom, and Doom is still great, but Quake was better. I think Quake is a better game. You can, for starters, look around in all directions. You can jump. And I guess you're playing it with the mouse and keyboard, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which, of course, was how first-person shooters were traditionally played. I'm playing it with my controller, which would get me laughed at, probably. But like I said, the Switch does have those gyro controls. In fact, what I often call the Wiimote and the gyro controls, it's basically like a wireless mouse that you hold in your hand, if you think about it. But Quake 2, good fun. I recommend it. Also recommend if you've never played Quake 2 64, check it out. It's on here in remastered form. You can see what us poor console peasants were playing.
You know what? I probably should have shared this earlier. This is for those that want to check it out. The commercial for the Quake 2, just so you have it. For your reference.
Crap! I meant to download that to show that. Check out this Quake 2 commercial. I should have played this during the stream. Did you watch the commercial?
No.
You didn't?
No, sorry.
Oh my goodness. You know what I'll do? I'll play it at the beginning of the next stream. All right. I'll see if I can download the original file.
Okay.
It's basically this pretentious filmmaker is I am Gunther. Here's my movie Quake 2, and it's all like dogs punching each other, but then there's scenes from the game, and then like beef getting grinded, and he says to you, to the people watching it, "You like? I don't care if you like." And I'm thinking it's the director of Secret Invasion,
Yeah.
like the pretentious, film school guy,
Right.
And I miss the 90s. They had a great sense of humor on those commercials. But check out that commercial if you get a chance. It's a commercial for the console versions of Quake 2. But even if they put the PlayStation version of Quake 2 on there as well, of course, that's really just a console version of the PC version. But I don't know. If you love boomer shooters, we're in boomer shooter heaven right now. I know
Right.
Rise of the Triad is coming out. They're doing a remaster of that soon, too. That comes out. It's out on PCs already. I know the console versions are incoming. Rise of the Triad, interesting enough, was supposed to be a third Wolfenstein game. Did you know that?
No, didn't.
It was originally intended to be, and then I don't know if they lost the license or because it was running on a modified version of the Wolfenstein 3D engine, but it lost out because the original Doom came out around the same time, so everybody ignored Rise of the Triad. But you can see how it was supposed to be like a third Wolfenstein game. Like the enemies you're fighting in it are very similar to a certain German group.
Yeah.
But they're doing a remastered version of that. That's coming out soon too. So good times. Check out check out Quake 2, and if you don't want to pay $9.99 for it, these things get super cheap. You'll probably get it for $4 come Christmas time if you don't want to pay full price. But all right, more on the writers actors strike. Let's
and of course, last Friday on Last Call, my special guest bartender was Tom Conkle, who had some great insights on the ongoing strike. We didn't get too much into this specific one, this specific aspect of it, but it's important. WGA introduces new healthcare demands that could prolong the strike.
WGA introduces new healthcare demands that could prolong the strike. Yes. So here we go. The Writers Guild introduced new demands on Friday that could prolong the 3-month strike even longer. The demands include Has this been going on 3 months?
Could be, yeah.
Okay. The demands include a point that the companies agree to a health care benefit extension that would give striking writers more time to qualify for the health coverage that many face losing because of a lack of earnings during the work stoppage. Friday's meeting was held to discuss terms for a possible return to the bargaining table, but instead of bringing them closer to a deal, the strike, it may have only moved it further apart. Under the old contract, writers had to earn at least $41,773 a year to qualify for health care coverage. But with 3 months and counting, the earnings are already lost because of the strike. Writers will have less time to attain their earnings threshold once the strike is over, according to a statement released to the Guild last night. Ellen Stutzman, the WGA's chief negotiator, made clear to the AMPTP that in addition to a comprehensive response from the AMPTP to our proposals in all work areas, we'll need to address issues arising from the strike, including healthcare benefit extension and additional funding to the Guild's pensions and health fund. Up until now, the WGA's only healthcare proposals on the table had been for each member of the writing team to receive pension and health contributions as if they were writing as an individual, a perennial demand that the companies rejected, and for the Guild to have the option to divert 0.5% of any negotiated minimums increased to the P&H fund, which was one of the few issues on which the two sides had managed to reach a tentative agreement before the strike was launched on May 2nd. Frequently asked questions page of the WA strike notes there is no health fund requirement that the health plan extend health insurance coverage during a strike, and trustees are 50% management and 50% Guild. If you fall out of coverage during the strike, extended benefits may be available under COBRA. Loss of health coverage is a problem for all industry workers during strikes. Last month, IATSC President Matt Loeb urged the motion picture industry pension and health plans, which cover IATSC and other below-the-line workers, to grant easing of the plan's eligibility requirements. So, I almost think, though, isn't this couldn't the studios use this as leverage to bring the strikers to the knees? I mean, health coverage, you need that, right?
That's certainly what they're going to do. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how I feel about this, because on the one hand, it's part and parcel of what happens when you go on strike, especially as an independent contractor. No one is obliged to cover your health care, right? No. However, it does seem to be a problem with unions. If your union tells you have to do it, then, hey, your union should be set up in such a way to cover people's health care to help extend it. Otherwise, why does an institutional union exist? See, this is the problem with unions. As a group of laborers, you ought to be able to form a union for the purpose of collective bargaining, right? You should also be able to disband that union when you are no longer negotiating. These unions have come into existence in a way that perpetuates themselves, and they are not operating in the best interest of the people they're supposed to represent. You're paying your union dues all the time, and then they say go on strike and starve to death. It's a problem. So I don't know. I'm definitely of multiple minds about all of this. So
I think it's interesting the studios cut down the trees on the sidewalk, getting rid of a bunch of shade. It's a very hot summer season. That's interesting. And the studio didn't even own the trees. I don't know. And you were mentioning Doom up here. If you are so interested, it may still be on sale. Doom 1 and 2 are on sale for $1.99 each, I think, on Steam and various other services, like if you own a Nintendo Switch or a PlayStation or an Xbox. So if you did want to start Doom now's the time, I guess, right? $2, right? Less than $2. That's pretty good. Plus all sorts of expansions and mods you can get for it too. But what was I going to say though? This strike, I don't know. I mean, this is not good. Especially if you have a family emergency, like your wife's pregnant or something. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yep, agreed.
Okay. And now we're going to kind of bookend this a bit, right? From our first discussion.
Absolutely. So this is back to the Exorcist. This is more current news about the Exorcist. We've got the forthcoming Exorcist Believer which will be a sequel to the original Exorcist, which very interestingly is apparently bringing back not only Linda Blair but Ellen Burstyn.
The Exorcist believer director David Gordon Green reveals how he convinced Ellen Burstyn to return after 50 years. From Green, the director of the recent Halloween trilogy, The Exorcist believer acts as a direct sequel to the late William Friedkin's original horror classic from 1973. Burstyn played Chris MacNeil, the mother of Linda Blair's possessed Reagan, in The Exorcist, and she didn't return to any of the less successful sequels. In a new interview with Total Film via Games Radar, after the Exorcist believer trailer revealed the truth, Green opened up about how he convinced Burstyn to come back as Chris MacNeil for the new chapter. The director says he was inspired by Burstyn's autobiography, Lessons in Becoming Myself, which allowed him to get to know the actress better, and together they carved out a meaningful role for her in the film. Read what Green shared below. It's incredible. I read her biography, and then it became like a mission. Could I invite one of the Hollywood icons to step into this role that she hasn't been in 50 years? That's a true undertaking. The inspiration that her book gave me in terms of her perspective after the movie and how the success of the movie, I say success, but also a lot of obstacles and hardships were faced because of the notoriety of the film. So I got to know her, and we swapped literature and ideas, and we evolved this character to me to be meaningful for Ellen, just beyond just a Chris MacNeil revisit. Before Burstyn, Green had prior experiences persuading actresses to reprise their iconic horror roles. Director previously convinced Jamie Lee Curtis to return as Laurie Strode in his recent Halloween trilogy, though she had been previously reprised the role for Halloween 2, Halloween H2O 20 years later, and Halloween Resurrection. Burstyn's situation was a different since, after starring in the original, which earned her an Oscar nomination in addition to a permanent spinal injury during the exorcism scene, she wasn't interested in returning to the sequels. 1977's The Exorcist II, The Heretic, or in 1990's The Exorcist III. Burstyn opting to return as Chris MacNeil after passing on the previous sequels underscores just how important her role will be. The Exorcist believer follows two demonically possessed girls and their parents who are in desperate need of help and decide to turn to Chris MacNeil, who obviously had a similar experience 50 years prior. Instead of a rehashed remake, The Exorcist Believer is a legacy sequel that pays homage to the original by putting Burstyn's character front and center, and she just might be the only hope of saving the girls from demonic possession. What do we think?
I'm cautiously optimistic. It does tick the right boxes for me. It does. It's not a reboot. It is what are they calling it these days? A requel.
Yeah.
You know, and that's I think the way to go. That's the way to go.
Here's my issue. If this was a one and done, I'd be all right. But this is setting up a new trilogy.
It is.
The last Halloween trilogy, there were people who hated his sequel, the Halloween, he just called it Halloween, his sequel to the original. I didn't hate it myself. I thought it did some interesting things that were interesting, some things I didn't care for, but I mean, was it worse than any of the other Halloween sequels we got? Like, I don't think Halloween 2 is that good of a sequel, if I'm really being honest with myself. I've tried excusing it, and H2O I didn't think was terrible, and then the other Halloween sequels, I'm sorry, Halloween 4, and then it went to 5 and 6, and just no. And the trouble was, though, I saw Halloween Kills, which was his follow-up to his sequel, right?
Right.
And Halloween Kills is objectively one of the worst sequels I've ever seen. It was terrible. It was like, I don't even want to, do I want to say it was Last Jedi levels of bad? It was really bad. And then I think, what's her name, who played Laurie Strode?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
She comes out saying, I heard Halloween Ends is going to piss a lot of people off. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to watch it then because I hate the second one already. And you're not selling me on part 3. And I could watch part 3 anytime. I think it's on Peacock. And maybe I'll watch it someday just to see how it ends. Or maybe not because I just don't know that I care enough.
Right.
So I'm not saying this new Exorcist is going to be bad. I'm just saying that he's hit or miss. And you have to take this seriously. This is William Friedkin directed the first one. This had an Oscar nomination for it.
Yeah.
Interested in how many old actors have now, whether it's Exorcist or Indy or Jamie Lee Curtis, feel I feel like it's further proof that people are interested in modern Hollywood. They're
Yeah,
not cultivating stars.
and I hate to be the black pill on the other side of this coin, but I think it's also a demonstration that you know actors used to be very choosy about the roles they would take, and as they get farther and farther into their career, they get less and less picky, and they go, just show me the money. And I
Oh,
mean, honestly, Harrison Ford has been really upfront about that. Why did you decide to come back and play Indy? They showed me the money. He just says it right out there.
he did that when he came back to play Deckard in Blade Runner 2049, and I thought that was rather obnoxious in the interview when he said that. What made you decide to come back? Is that show me the money? And I'm like, really?
I can't fault someone too much for being honest.
He
We
has
all know
money,
that's the
though. How
case.
much money do you need? Does he have kids? He wants to leave it to them. I mean, how much money do you need? You're already. He must have a small fortune, or maybe
I
a
think what
large
happens
fortune.
is as you get farther on and you realize I used to be able to have my pick of roles. I used to have the money rolling in, and it's getting harder and harder. There literally is coming a point where I will not be able to work. So I need to make enough money now to coast by for the rest of my life.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, he did well as Decker in the Blade Runner 2049. He gave the role his all. That's good. But I just didn't.
It helps that it was a good script, well directed. I mean, he had everything working for him there too. He I'm sure he did as well as he could with Dial of Dysentery, but he had nothing to work with, and he had poor directing, and he had a terrible script. We have no idea yet what Believer is going to be like for Ellen Burstyn.
That's the poster you're using. That looks good, actually. The poster they have.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I do
yeah.
like it. I hope it's good. Just make a good movie, and I don't know about doing a trilogy, and just try to be.
I will say this about doing a trilogy: if you're going to do it, friggin' commit. Plan out a 3-story arc. Make a good plan, and find ways to get your costs down so that instead of having the budget for 3 separate films, you economize as much as possible. That's the upside of pre-planning films like that.
Yeah. They're doing. Are you kidding me? No. No. Please, no. They're doing Commando 2 with Arnold, and I just feel my bones. He'll die, and they'll promote some chick or something. It'll be Alyssa Milano taking over the role because
Oh, for fuck's sake, no.
they just seem too incompetent to do anything good. I heard that they were doing a follow up to Cliffhanger with Stallone,
Yeah, I heard
too.
that too.
But I heard that one may not be so bad because I think it's maybe it's like a Maverick sort of deal. I don't know.
We'll
Arnold
see.
is too old now. Yeah, I have to say, for whatever reason, Stallone is older. He seems in better shape than Arnold right now, though. Like I still think Stallone could kick my ass if I was him someday. But
Yeah, I think you're right.
it's
Schwarzenegger's kind of let himself go.
a little bit. Especially in that last Terminator movie.
Yeah.
There was a real problem with that last Terminator movie when it was Arnold and Linda Hamilton were the ones dragging that movie down, and they were, and I'm just done. He strikes me as, I mean, he's never outward with his politics, but yeah, I get that suspicion. Check out if you do ever get a chance, though. Check out Tulsa King. It's a great little series.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You've mentioned. Yeah, it's definitely on my list. No
Okay,
doubt.
so let's go to the final story.
I didn't know if this was an article you actually
It
intended
actually
for.
wasn't. I thought you would talk about it on last call, but what the heck? Let's
Okay.
talk about it.
It does seem more on brand for my channel than yours, but if you want
That's
to
the whole bar
discuss it,
theme. That's why I
it
sent
is
it
a
to you.
very
Yeah.
interesting point. Gen Z is under scrutiny for avoiding bar tabs, but people are pointing out that that's the norm outside the U.S.
Yeah. Oh, you do
Yeah,
like
I
Tulsa
gotta,
King. Yeah, it's
I
a good
gotta,
show. It's a good
I
show.
gotta admit that despite the shtick for Last Call, I'm not the kind that would hang out in bars. Netter and I, when we were dating, we went to she lived up on the near north side of the loop. You know, like I said, she was a block away from Mother's. You know, the pub that you see in About Last Night. You know, States. What do you call it? Rush and Dearborn and whatnot, and it's just a lot of bar life around there. And we'd hit the alumni club and whatnot when we were dating. State Street, thank you. But it's way more expensive to drink in a bar than it is to mix your own drinks. You also get much better drinks, you know, when you make them yourself, and you know how to make them.
Yeah.
And if you want to have a conversation with people, it's a lot easier to do it without loud music and a bunch of other rowdy people, you know, making a lot of noise and, you know, crazy dance floor and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, I'm more of a blues club kind of low key type of, you know, hole in the wall type of guy, not that kind of bar. But so I totally get that.
I'm going to read the article.
Yeah.
An American criticized Gen Z for paying with credit cards and closing out on every round of the bar. These are the bullet points. While some agreed, a TikToker said this was literally how you buy drinks everywhere else.
Yeah.
It sparked a heated discussion about bar tab etiquette across different countries. Okay. People have been left baffled by a post on the recently rebranded social media platform, X, formerly Twitter, suggesting that closing out every round is psycho behavior. Willie Stalley, a story editor for the New York Times Magazine, sent out a post on July 14th. At the bar last night, the Zoomers were all paying with credit cards and closing out every round, Staley wrote. This is psycho behavior. Someone needs to teach these children how to go to the bar. Zoomers, also known as Gen Zers, encompass those born between the mid to late 90s and the early 2010s. So far, the post has 7.5 million views, and it has stirred a debate around bar etiquette in different countries. While some Americans agree that paying for your drinks each round was unusual, as a tab for the evening tends to be the norm, others say that it's not typical in many parts of the world. Haley Horton, a TikToker, responded to the post in a video on July 17th. It's when I read things like this that I sit back and I think to myself, am I not as culturally American as I think I am? Because I read this and I went, huh, she said. Horton told viewers that she had lived in the UK since she was 18 and had limited experience going to bars and clubs in the United States. She said that when she and her boyfriend went to visit the United States last year, they paid for the drinks after every order because that's how they were used to paying for drinks everywhere else. We had absolutely no idea it was a faux pas, Horton said in her video. The psycho behavior that this man has described is literally how you buy drinks everywhere else. In one post, an ex-user called Lawrence Gruber wrote, "Where the hell do you live that people pay after each round? I've been all over Europe, and I've never seen people pay after each round. Normal sane people wait to the end of the evening and then pay for one bill for the entire evening. If you live in a country where it is normal to close out after each round, then you live in a nation of psychopaths." Horton and many other viewers seem shocked by this response. Bar tabs keep a running total of charges that people accumulate while in the bar. They help bartenders to reduce the number of transactions in an evening and make it easier for them to handle complex orders and serve large groups. While bar tabs are a staple of the U.S. bar experience, they are less common in many European countries. In the UK and other parts of Northern Europe, customers often order a round of drinks at the bar and pay in the moment, while servers in some parts of Southern Europe will bring a check to the table at the end of an evening, but not expect customers to leave their credit cards at the bar up front. Several people question the logistics of running a tab and ask how it would be possible to split the check if you're waiting until the end to pay it. It's not closing out, it's making a purchase, one viewer said. It isn't the crazy thing leaving your cards somewhere the whole night. Horton added that paying for drinks as you got them was the norm only in bars, and it didn't apply to restaurants. Cultural differences are a common source of discourse on social media. Americans who have traveled abroad have frequently documented their experience in many countries and the surprise of many viewers, while others have shared their own culture shocks from living in countries outside the U.S. and have gone viral as a result. I have my own opinion on this subject. There's an old expression called "when in Rome." You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But at the same time, I would also argue that I don't think this is as ubiquitous as either side of this is saying. I think it depends on the night. It depends on the hostess. It depends on where you are, where the club is. I know that I have many times been in a situation where we're running a tab and the host is going, I'm going off duty. I'd like to close out your tab. If you want to open up another one with the next girl, you
Sure,
can do
that
that.
makes sense. Yeah.
You know, I mean, also there's also the side where you have a party and you go, look, we don't know how long we're planning to stay here tonight. We don't want to run a tab because we're not necessarily planning to stay here all night. Can we do it, you know, by round?
Okay.
It's a communication thing, you know?
Okay, and according to Netter, she's never carried tab, always pay for each drink because that's what they wanted at the bar she was at.
Yes, that's another thing. There were a lot of times where we would put in our drink order and they'd come back and they'd say, it's this much. No even option for the tab, you know? So again, it really causes me to question how ubiquitous is this, especially for someone to get so mouthy about it, calling people psychopaths. It's like,
I
dude,
wouldn't go that far, but
you know, the article is, and I'm just saying, you know, that's pretty harsh,
okay,
considering different people have different experiences, even here in the United States.
Okay, these are my experiences, okay, and this is what made sense to me.
And again, probably your experience is going to be very different, say, in Florida than here in Chicago or up in New Jersey.
In Florida, they tend to carry tabs. This is how I would treat it. If I knew I was only going to have one drink, I would just close it out then, just pay it then if I didn't think I was going to drink anymore. If I was going to have a couple, 2 or 3 drinks, and she asked me, bartender would ask if I would like to run the tab, I said, sure. Because I'm going to have to be paying for it all anyway, and then I would tip based on the final amount.
Right.
And the thing, to me, and I guess certain bars do things differently, but I think it's just easier to keep the tab going and then to pay and then just to let it ring up and then pay it out right at the end.
Well, here's another thing. You know, it's the difference of, are you going to a bar in Florida that's kind of a, you know, summer tourist type place where, you know, is there a lot of people there that night, or is this a Wednesday night when you're,
I don't know.
It matters. It makes a difference.
The bars for the college students, so they would have like a lot of the craft beer bars that are so popular in Orlando. You know, where they have.
And how busy is it when you go in? You know, are you going
a little busy? Yeah, so it's actually easier just to have the bartenders that have the.
That does make a difference, but like I said, if you're going after work on a Wednesday or a Thursday or something, you know, you might have a couple of drinks, but you might not plan it out that far in advance, and they don't care because they don't have a bunch of people that they're waiting on that they.
I look at it this way: when I'm in a restaurant, I don't pay for the appetizer and then pay for the meal and then pay for dessert all separately. You know, you'll pay for them all at once. That's how I see it.
Yeah, but you kind of know in advance what you're planning out. You're going to say, okay, I'm going to get an appetizer, I'm going to get a main course, and then I'll decide if I'm going to get dessert. Okay. You know, and you know going in.
I'll say if I know I'm only going to have 2 drinks, I close the tab out after 2 drinks, and then maybe if I change my mind, okay, then I could order another drink. But usually, I know what I'm going to be ordering. I know if I'm going to have one. If I'm only drinking social, I'll get 1 beer, or you know, if I'm hanging out there longer, I would open the tab up. That's how it would usually work.
Right.
I don't know. So maybe, like I say, I think 2 people get drunk, don't realize how the tab's getting. And then it comes time to pay. They're like, "Oh crap, I don't have that much on me." Well, I'll say this: I know when I did
that's a good point.
When I ran the tabs were always with credit cards.
Well, and here's the other problem.
I don't think you'd say run on my tab and then just pay out.
Here's the other problem with big tabs. You have a party of, I don't know, maybe it varies throughout the night. Maybe you start out with 3 people, a couple people show up, a couple people leave. You know, there's a lot of people that sometimes get away and don't pay and leave the last guy stuck with the tab. Yeah, I've seen that happen too.
That's not fun.
No. There is every circumstance is different, and the logistics are oftentimes different. I don't think you can paint in this wide a brush. So I can't. This is literally an article about a social media dust up, and it's stupid. You know,
Okay, well, I thought you were going to have big opinions on this since you were the last call
I
guy.
kind of do. I kind of think
Okay,
that that,
but you're
that that
saying that the guy needs to chill out. That's what you're saying. The
I
guy that
really
the
do.
player.
I
Okay.
really, really do. And I'll tell you what, if the bartender or if the hostess had a problem, they need to communicate that. They need to say, "Look, we'd really rather you just ran a tab and pay it at the end of the night and work out those." It's communication, you know.
Look, usually I try not to be a pain in the ass to bartenders as long as they're, doing the job, getting me the drinks when I need them. And I would tip them too.
And I would
Yeah.
imagine that these kids, that are saying they had no idea, they don't want to be a troublesome either. If a bartender said to them, "Look, I'd really rather you instead of closing out each round, you just ran a tab." Oh, okay, didn't know. Sure, I'll do that. This isn't people being this is definitely it's not people being psychopaths. You know, I really am offended by that. That really bothers me. But you know what? That comes from the fact that this is a social media nonsense rather than a legitimate thing. So
Well, this was
yeah.
started by a New York Times writer, I think, right? So
Oh, there you go.
okay. So
That you should have led with that. That tells you everything you need to know.
at any rate, I haven't been to a bar in a while, so but
Funny enough, I haven't either. I mean, I my Friday night is
You're
my bar
listening to my
outing.
TikToker?
Yeah, exactly. But
what should I order if I go to a bar again? Maybe a blue Hawaiian. I don't know if I've ever had a blue
I mean, it
Hawaiian.
depends on the night. It depends on what bar you're going to.
Yeah.
Are you going to a bar that's? I mean, down in Florida, what are the margaritas like? A Bahama Breeze. That's the kind of thing I'd be thinking about if I was down there. You know,
I've had margaritas. I'm not that into them though. I don't know. I've had Bloody Marys though. Those are pretty good.
Bloody Marys are wonderful.
Yeah.
Martinis are great, but it's hit and miss when you go out to a bar. Netter makes the best. You know.
No, James Bond made the best. I'm kidding. You don't like the way James Bond made his martini, right?
No, I don't. I tried it his way. It bothered me. I've augmented it. I've gone with the closest ingredients you can get, but I stir it. I don't shake it. That is just blasphemous.
Do you know when he take? I read the book that when he takes straight vodka, he puts pepper. He puts a pinch of pepper in it. And they say, why do you
Oh,
do that? Because some of the vodka that I was at this place, I guess it would get contaminated with oils or something, and you didn't want to drink that. So the pepper would make that stuff sink to the bottom. Then he got used to the taste of the pepper and the vodka. That's why it was this whole thing. And I'm like,
that's very interesting.
because I guess he was stuck in Russia at some point for some reason.
And now I could
And then,
I could kind of because look, you've got so many different infusions in vodka, mostly fruity and
yeah,
vanilla and so on and so forth. But I could see a hot like a pepper, black pepper or red pepper. I could see that. Oh man, in certain drinks that would be really really good. That's not a bad call.
yeah. He uh, he had to get drunk while playing cards at this one thing, or at least appeared to be getting drunk. So he was. And then he put some Benjadrine and some champagne. I think I mentioned this to you the other night. This is a whacked out book. This is Moonraker. I'm just, I'm telling
Yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah.
it's not like the movie. The movie was completely different because
Because they were looking for just a vehicle to do a Star Wars ripoff.
basically, yeah, that's basically what they said. That was not supposed to be the next movie after Spy Who Loved Me. Spy Who Loved Me comes out the same summer as Star Wars, so they're like, we got to get in on the Star Wars money, so let's do Moonraker instead of Fear Eyes Only. And as Bond goes to space.
The one thing that's driving me nuts, and I'm not going to get to it until after I finish reading Casino Royale, but Thunderball. Thunderball was adapted twice, and I
Yes.
kind of want to see. I got to read the book before I rewatch both of those films.
Yes. Yes, let me know. Anyway, it's getting late, and we will soon be at the midnight hour, the other side of midnight at 12:05 a.m. He's
Yes,
having
yes.
the deleted scenes, and he's having a special guest, some gentleman named Big Al. Big Al presents. Uh,
Someone named
he
Big
may
Al.
be a troublemaker deleted scenes. You may
Yeah, watch out for him.
I'm sorry. But yeah, definitely check that.
You might actually want to. Yeah, he's probably posting that because he's going to get going. You might want to start calling your guest to make sure he's available in a half hour.
And we have to wrap this up too. But full night again of news stories. I thought this was going to be a dead week, and we had more to talk about. I guess the big highlight of the night is Quake II re-release. If you're into boomer shooters, this is a good one. I don't like it quite as much as the original Quake, but it's still a great game, and it's well worth checking out. I'm trying to think what else happened this week that was cool. That weird Korean drama, maybe. See, this is the thing. It's like all the mainstream stuff is kind of sucking right now, and the strike isn't helping matters. So I don't know.
No, absolutely.
Are there any studios you like right now? Paramount, do you like them? Musical Star Trek episodes?
No.
Okay.
Star Trek sucks.
Okay.
I have no interest in.
Universal, huh? Universal.
What's Universal got going for them?
Fast and the Furious. They do those. They did the Mario movie, the Super Mario Brothers movie. That was their big hit this year. Which which I haven't seen yet, but I've heard really good things. Some point. Yeah, let me know what you and Ned are thinking of it. I'm curious. It should be interesting. But another great show, gentlemen. Thank you, DPensec. I'll keep an eye on him. Oh, on Big Al, yes. So
yeah, exactly.
So, again,
you do that.
Check out Other Side of Midnight, going live in about a half hour. Coming up, I guess Thursday's our next night for
and I haven't got the thumbnail just yet, so we don't have the direct link. But you know what? Just go subscribe to Netter's Network right now, because Thursday things, her guest is Samuel the Infamous. Great streamer, great support to other channels, including Lioness Exiled. More of a conservative-ish, libertarian kind of political commentary. But you know what? We'll introduce you to him on Thursday on Netter's Network.
Great, looking forward to it. Continuing Chronicles said Mario was good. I thought he said Marlowe was good.
Mario. Yeah.
They did a Philip Marlowe movie this year that I cannot catch on streaming anywhere. It's not streaming anywhere yet.
Huh. Okay.
Liam Neeson's in it. I've been wanting to see it, but apparently Gorky Park and expanded version of Lost World. I guess that's the soundtrack. So I'm sure Birdman will be all over that Lost World expanded edition because it's John Williams.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think Friday what we got going on.
Friday, very special guest. This is going to be our oceanic toy talk with Tony of Analog Toys. I've got the link already up. I'm very, very excited about that.
Where's this person from?
Australia. Well, originally UK, but
they have toys in Australia. I thought they just played with crocodiles.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, you got to be a tough guy to live in Australia. And Tony is
Crocodile Dundee. I know what
he is. Well, Tony makes Crocodile Dundee look like a pussy. Let me tell you,
right.
he is a tough guy. A former SAS. He is hard line, man. He really is. We'll get to know him on Friday. I gotta admit, just like I say about so many of the guests I have, I'm kind of geeking out here. I'm a real fanboy of his channel, and just the fact that not only did he agree to be on my channel, but he responded to a comment on one of his live streams. He's like, "Hey, Troy, if you ever want me as a guest on Last Call, just let me know." And I'm like, "How about next week?" He's like, "Okay, yeah, absolutely." So that'll be this Friday.
Toy collecting is so good right now. Yeah, I guess it's having a bit of a run. See, not everything's bad.
There's some good, there's some bad, there's some challenges. And speaking to the Australian thing specifically, he's got some special challenges because obviously he, growing up in the UK, he was more of a Palatoy kind of guy. He was more action man than G.I. Joe, so on and so forth. But then when he got to Australia, it was harder to get certain toys, both from the UK and from the US. So we'll talk about that on Friday, of course.
Okay, and then Saturday, what you got going on?
Saturday over on Netter's Network Retro Cinema, we will be watching Casper from 1995. Christina Ricci, Bill Pullman, Devin Bonsoir. That will be the rewatch.
That was actually a pioneering movie for CG animation.
It kind of was, and we will absolutely talk about that. Some good. What do you call them? Not Easter eggs, cameos that I don't want to spoil.
Yeah, you'll see when you see.
We'll definitely talk about that. It's a lot of fun. I will definitely be talking about that scene because I'm gonna. There are Easter eggs within the cameo, and we'll talk about them. So yeah, there we go. So.
And then next Sunday, we will have our pre-show with deleted scenes, correct?
Right, which we don't, of course, have a topic yet. That's a whole week away. So just make sure you're subscribed to Deleted Scenes and, get over to his channel now so that you don't miss out on After Midnight with Big Al. But there you go. Okay. And that's the weekend review, my friends.
That wraps it up. It's late. It's time for us to skedaddle out of here. Do you have anything left to say?
Nope. Just thanks everyone for being here. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out if you haven't already. And have a great week.
Good night, everybody.
Take care.